So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Devyo, Sajjano, Mitro, welcome back. Let us go ahead. We are doing a chapter called Income from House Property. First head of income in classroom, but of course, second head of income in income tax law. Answer as quickly as possible. Charging section. Name of the chapter, Income from House Property. So, we cover residential or commercial, both properties. But income can be taxable under income from house property only and only if you fulfill three conditions. Condition 1, building, residential or commercial, full or part, but there has to be a building. Second, you have to be the owner, whether actual owner or deemed owner. And third, you should not be using the premises for your business. So, building, owner, not doing business. What are the three conditions? Building, owner, not doing business. What you will earn from the asset is obviously rent, but you will not pay tax on the rent earned. Tax will be applicable on the capacity, and capacity is annual value. And sir, what is annual value? The actual rent or the market rent, whichever is higher. Because remember, wherever land is involved, cash will be involved. And so actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. Do you understand that? This will create trouble because the house in which you are living also will have annual value. So do we have to pay tax on that annual value? No. So that house will be called self-occupied property. The house that you have given on rent will be called given on rent. Even for one day will be called let out property. On that we will pay tax on actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. But self-occupied property we will take annual value as 0. But maximum we can take in this category 2. So obviously highest annual values, any 2 we will take 0. And then the remaining will be called deemed to be let out property. This will also apply on your stock in trade after 2 years from the end of the year of receiving completion certificate. Correct? Hai? Let's go ahead. Next, fourth point in the introduction of income from house property. Once you earn rent from property, once you earn what, bro? Rent from property. You have to always classify it under income from house property. See, what is the law trying to tell us here? We have created a separate head of income for taxing rental income. Then give respect to that. Sometimes it is possible that some people do this activity as their regular activity. Sir, what is my business? My business is to give property on rent. You know, I told you about my house owner who had like literally 10, 15 similar properties in the area given on rent. So what is his regular activity? Every few years he saves money, buys a property, buy property, give on rent, buy property, give on rent. He has converted this activity into his daily business activity. But ladies and gentlemen, let's be clear, even if you do it as a regular activity, we have created a separate head of income and therefore it will be classified under income from house property. In fact, I will tell you about a Supreme Court case law, Supreme Court judgment. At intermediate level, you are not required to learn court cases for exam purposes. Case laws you have to learn in direct tax at CA final. But I'll tell you, there was a company called Chennai Properties and Investments Limited. Company called Chennai Properties and Investment Limited, which was in this business only, renting business. Look at the name of the company, Chennai Properties and Investments. In the memorandum of association, object clause, company had written our object, main object, only object is renting. We are creating a company only for this activity. We won't be doing any other activity. And therefore they earn profit from renting. Company showed that profit as PGBP because that is our regular activity. And Supreme Court said it is allowed to call it PGBP because it is your regular activity. And now there is an amendment in the income tax law cancelling that Supreme Court judgment, overriding that Supreme Court judgment. I am not writing like I normally do with effect from assessment year 25-26 because this is related to a case law which is irrelevant for intermediate students. Just to let you know, now government is making it clear, we are cancelling that Supreme Court judgment and make it very, very clear to you, once you have income from the activity of renting, even if you make it your regular activity, we will not let you put it under business profession, even regular activity income has to be classified under income from house property. See, we have created a separate head of income for rentals. And if you start putting this income in other places like other sources or PGBP, then there will be no respect left. We need to respect the head of income that we have created. Rentals will always be classified under income from house property. Sir, what if I am doing it as a regular activity? What if I am doing it as a daily basis, on a regular basis I am doing the activity, still it will be classified under income from house property. In fact, even if it is your stock in trade, it will be classified under income from house property, even if it is your stock in trade. Sir, what do you mean by this? Supposingly a developer has constructed a building, so he has to now one by one sell the flats. If the flats are not getting sold, after 2 years he will also get the LOP. That means he will have to pay tax without earning rent. So developers get this idea that let's do one thing, till we get a proper customer, let us give the property actually on rent. Good developer will never do that, because once you allow someone to use your property, it becomes second-hand property. So anybody who wants a new property may not later on buy the property which was already used by someone on rent. So, normally you may not get to see people who are agreeing to this. But supposingly the developer is in need of money, is it possible that the developer has given his property on rent? Now, my question is this property his stock in trade? Is this property his stock in trade? Why do you say so? Because he is in the business of constructing and selling of properties. It is his stock in trade. Everyone agrees? Whenever we usually generate any income from our stock in trade, where do we write that income which is generated from stock in trade? Income related to stock will go where? Business. So this developer wanted to classify this income under business because it is generated from my stock. But we hereby make it clear, even if it is your stock, the day when you will sell your property, that is PGBP. Because selling of stock is PGBP. But if it is generating the side income till the time it is getting sold, then it will be still classified under income from house property. If you are in real estate development, if you are a builder, developer, so ladies and gentlemen, no problem. Sell properties and book PGBP. But renting will always go under income from house property. Now understand the full statement that this point number 4 is trying to give you. Once you generate rental income from property, once you generate rent, it will always be classified under income from house property. Sir, I do this as a regular business activity. Then still house property. Sir, I am generating this from my stock in trade, and any income generated from stock should be business, no? By selling it, it will be business. But the rent will always be classified under income from house property. Everyone is clear about this? 100%? Fantastic. So, that's your point number 4 in the introduction of income from house property. And this brings us to the 5th and the last point of the chapter, income from house property. Introduction, bro. Introduction. If you have earned something called composite rent, if you have earned something called, the word composite income we have studied before also. Where? Agriculture plus business, double activity. Same thing is happening here. If you have given your house plus other assets on rent, is that possible? A simple example being house with furniture. Possible. See, there is one house which has nothing. There will be a particular rental value. And then in that house, if you put sofa, dining table, bed, wardrobe, etc., then the rentals will increase. No? Why is that increase? A portion to obviously the additional furniture that the owner has put for the tenant. So here you have to go and see, as a tenant, do I have the option of taking the house separately and the furniture separately? Means my owner is telling me that currently it is an empty house. You have to give me 1,20,000 per month. If you want, I will put sofa, dining table, bed, wardrobe, everything. Then you will have to give me 1,50,000. That means, do I have an option of taking house separately and furniture separately? Yes. Then in that case, the house ka rent of 1,20,000 in our example will be classified as income from house property. But the other assets current, furniture for example, this is very, very important, ladies and gentlemen. This cannot be income from house. This logic is hidden in the first word of the chapter. What was the first word of the chapter? Don't say sir, heading. After heading, don't say sir, points to be noted. In the first condition, what was that first word? Building. Only building current can go under income from house property. So if you have 1,20,000 of the house, that is house property. But the 30,000 that you are getting for furniture, that cannot go under income from house property, because it is dissatisfying the very first condition. Building. House property can have only house current, not other assets current. But am I earning the rent? So I have to pay tax because it is not exempt. Exempt income is over. So where will I put it? If giving furniture on rent is my daily activity, I do it regularly by making a regular business, then I will put it under PGBP. Or if I do it once in a while, one-off case, then we will call it income from other sources. Sir, one more time I will tell you, where we will put it is not our concern. Our current concern is it will not come under income from house property, because other assets ka rent cannot come under income from house property. Is that clear? But is that one more possibility that it is not separate? Supposingly I wanted higher rental value for my property. I have already put sofa, dining table, bed, wardrobe, everything. Now my tenant is coming and telling me, I don't like your sofa. I want to change it. Bro, though, where will I put my sofa? Because you will leave, you will take your sofa. Then next time I will get less rent. So either you leave your sofa behind, or I am not giving you the permission to remove my sofa. If you want my property, you have to take with the furniture. I am not giving you the option of taking house separately at 120 and furniture separately at 120. You have to give at 30. You have to give me one total figure of 1,50,000, including furniture. That means I am not giving you any breakup of house and furniture. See, if the breakup is available, the house current will go under income from house property, and other assets current will go under PGBP or IFRS. But if it is not possible to separate, that means we have only one composite figure, total figure, which contains rent of house as well as furniture, and we don't have any segregation. So ladies and gentlemen, very, very important to note, this is really important to note, under no circumstance such a rent will go under house property. And the logic is hidden in the next sentence. Hear me out carefully. If you listen to this next sentence carefully, you will understand what I am trying to say. It is okay if rent of property goes in some other head, but other assets rent cannot come here. Property rent going in another head, no problem. But furniture rent cannot come under house property. When we were able to separate, so we wrote house rent under house property and furniture rent under PGBP or other sources. But when we cannot separate, we cannot write it under income from house property. So what are the options remaining? Obviously, it is not salary or capital gains. If I do it regularly, it will be PGBP. If I do it sometimes, it will be IFOS. For example, you will understand with the help of an example. Supposingly, you go and stay overnight in a hotel. Hotels charge you on the basis of how many nights you are living in that hotel. So hotel room will generally have your bed, the mattress on the bed, the AC, the TV, the phone to call for anything from housekeeping or restaurant or in-room dining. It will have all those facilities. It will have a proper bathroom. Good hotels give you towels, toiletries, everything. Have you ever done this while staying overnight in a hotel, that you tell the hotel reception that I want only a place So remove the bed, remove the TV, remove everything. I want only place. How much will you charge only for the room? No, not separable. So the room tariff that you pay is rent of the room plus all the other assets inside the room, all the other facilities inside the room. That can't be house property. Of course, in a hotel business, it will be called PGBP. And supposingly you have a similar bungalow in Lonavala, where 4 or 5 times in a year you give it to someone on rent with all the facilities. These days, people who invest in Lonavala bungalows, like they are proper, well-equipped bungalows with swimming pool, with a caretaker who will bring whatever you tell him. There is a proper kitchen, fully equipped kitchen. You can actually, in a lower budget, if you want to plan a friend's trip or something. And in fact, hotels are not even advisable for one more reason, because in a hotel, when everyone has a separate room, so after a point, people disappear. So if you want to enjoy with your group of friends together, this bungalow culture is very much popular, wherein there is one common area where everyone can get accumulated. And sleeping time, they have their separate rooms. So there are these people who are bungalow owners who are generating income by renting out their bungalows. But they don't do it as a regular activity on a daily basis. They do it once in a while. So they will put it where? Income from other sources. But most importantly, it will not come under house property. So when we can separate, then property ka rent will come under house property. But when we cannot separate, then it will be PGBP or IFRS. Is that clear, everyone? Now, don't counter this with your half knowledge. What kind of half knowledge? After I teach this, a lot of students come and tell me, sir, I have given, my family has given a property on rent with furniture. It's a furnished house. And we did not remove the furniture. That means we fall in this case. Now that tenant is paying us rent of property plus furniture. And we don't have breakup. That means it should be this. But sir, I saw my father's income tax papers, my mother's income tax papers. Sir, they are showing the rent as house property. Furnished house. Separate amount not available. That means total rent they are showing as. What they are doing is wrong. Legally speaking, they have to put it under PGBP or. But then why are they doing it? The reason is, when you did the agreement, please listen to this carefully. Agreement said, I am giving you my house on rent. Go check. Go check. Nowhere in the leave and license agreement they will mention about furniture. So while you and your tenant know that it's a furnished house, agreement nowhere mentions furniture. So on paper, it is a house given on rent. On paper, this point only is not applicable. It is not a case of composite rent, because as per the records, as per the papers, a house is given on rent. It becomes a normal house property question. The moment you mention the furniture in the papers, then you will have to mention separately rent of furniture, rent of house. If you mention separately, so this point will come. If you don't mention separately, so this point will come. But if you have not mentioned only furniture, this point 5 only will not come. So that is how practical life somewhere becomes different from what you learn in a classroom. Which is why I always tell students that take your classroom seriously and also take your articleship also seriously. I will never advocate going and working in a dummy firm, you know what are dummy articles? They just register under some CA who is a family friend or something. They don't actually work, and every month they receive the check of stipend and give the cash back, because actually you are not working. So on paper you are showing that you are working, but actually you have zero articleship exposure. I am against that, because that will never give you practical knowledge. Articleship is an important thing, but then you should know how much importance to give. Not so much importance that you never get time to study only for your CA final. That you don't have absolutely any time, that they are making you work for 12, 14 hours. And these days, corporate companies ka chairman giving kind of statements that they are. Infosys ka chairman, Mr. Murthy, is saying that you should work for 70 hours per day. And then L&T Infotech ka chairman is saying that you should work on Sundays also, work for 90 hours. How long can you stare at your wife? Bro, I can. My wife is good. Don't know about you. I spend every Sunday staring at her. But L&T ka chairman said it. Are you aware? How long can you stare at your wife? Bro, talk about your wife. Don't speak for everyone. Somehow I have the urge of doing a Google search. L&T chairman wife. What kind of statements are these? Rubbish. Work very hard. Huh? Always take your work seriously. But not that you compromise on everything else in life. Always pursue your hobbies, always pursue your passions, anything about which you are committed, whether your friends or your social work or anything, never leave that. And that you should know how to maintain balance. Use less social media, you'll get time for your work also, you'll get time for your passions and hobbies also. If you want to become a content creator, then start doing research on that. Start working on something. Work hard, work very hard, but don't let one thing affect the other. You have to give respect to your articleship. At the same time, you have to give respect to your CA final custody also. Just imagine, full name क्या था? Aarti Gupta. What do you want to be called as? CA Aarti Gupta or CA Inter Aarti Gupta? Just imagine your prefix CA Inter Aarti. अरे CA Aarti Gupta you want, no? So you need to clear CA final exams. Maintain the balance. And there is a strategy once you clear CA Inter, that if you function as per that strategy, first 1 year, more time to articleship. Only weekend finish your FR and FM, the first two subjects which don't have amendments ever. And maybe one of your SPOM subjects, costing or. Second year of articleship, little reduction in articleship work, increase your academic work because you have one SPOM and 3 subjects ka classes, direct tax, indirect tax and audit. By the end of your articleship, you should have completed all your academic subjects, at least the classroom part of it. And then you get a proper 7-8 months of self-study, mock test paper. If you divide 3 years ka work in 3 years, it is very easy. First 1.5 years, you think that, array yaar, 3 years, I'll start easily. So 1.5 years gone. Then you have to do 3 years ka work in 1.5. And that is where CA final gets tough, very, very tough, very difficult. A lot of people take up CA firms which call them for 10-12 hours every day. After 10-12 hours, the body physically and mentally will not allow you to do any kind of academic work, passion, hobby. Some like singing, some like playing the piano. All goes down the drain because you will not have the physical and mental strength to do it. So ideally, anybody calling you for 7-8 hours is sensible. So I am not saying that don't work at all, but I am not saying work for 14 hours per day. You have to choose a firm according to that. Lots and lots of things more than this also. Once I do that personal one-to-one marketing nahi hai, bro. Just to let you know that it is customized on the basis of where you see yourself 10 years down. A lot depends on that also. But point is that classroom can teach you these things. This is the law. This is the law. But office mein you'll come to know that if I give a furnished house on rent, but I don't mention furniture in the agreement, then this point is not happening. Because this point can come into existence only if you mention furniture. What did my landlord do? I told you about that NRI, that new one. In the leave-in license agreement, they just mentioned the period, the compensation, that every month by this date you will have to pay the rent, the deposit amount, etc. He, for his safety, made a separate agreement at his cost, in which he mentioned the furniture, etc. So that if I damage, so he is able to recover from it. For that, he made a separate agreement. Normal leave and license agreements, you don't do separate stamp paper agreements. But he, for his safety, has done it at his cost. Yes. He just said that I am giving you following things in my house, please sign and give. So we did that. And I was not going to pay. Normal agreements, we divide 50-50 the agreement cost. But this agreement was his choice separately, he wanted to do. So he did it at his own cost. What we put in the agreement, it has a lot of effect on what will be the tax effect. Because we saying orally that it is a furnished house, nobody is going to believe. Audit. You learn something called audit evidence. That for every statement, you need to back it up with documentary evidence. No one is going to take you on face value. If I just simply say that my book covers highest number of questions in the country, you have the right to disbelieve the story. But once you have the book in your hand, I am backing it up with a documentary evidence, then you have no choice but to believe. Do you understand this? So ladies and gentlemen, don't bring that practical doubt here, because on that practical front, you are not mentioning the furniture anywhere in the agreement. Everyone is clear? If we mention, then we write separate amounts, this will apply. If we don't write separate amounts, this will apply. Clear? This is your introduction of your chapter income from house property. Now that this is over, we have to go and learn computation of income from house property, the calculation part. Have I told you that, I don't know whether I have actually told you, that students always have this doubt, sir, how should we present our answer? See, as far as a subject like accounts is concerned, there is a format that is taught to you, format of balance sheet, format of profit and loss account. In a chapter like costing, you have a format. Marginal costing, sales minus variable cost is contribution, contribution minus fixed cost is profit. What is the break-even point, etc. In your standard costing, you have a particular format. Sales variances, cost variances, adverse, favorable. There is a format. In tax, format changes chapter by chapter. So when we did a chapter scope of total income, our format was particulars, ROR, RNOR. In exempt income, there is no real format, because how do we write exempt income? This income is exempt under section 10, amount column 0. But from now onwards, every chapter that we do, to solve sums, problems, questions of that chapter, there is a particular format. And this is the format in which we will be solving. Every time we have a question, calculate income from house property, it has to be solved as per this format. The first step of calculation of income from house property is something called gross annual value, very, very famously referred to as GAV, gross annual value. What is taxable income under house property? Annual value. So we have to learn calculation of annual value. After I finish the pro forma, I call it pro forma format. You understand? Format, pro forma. Once I complete the format, I will give a heading GAV and explain GAV calculation in detail. The biggest explanation is GAV. Once you understand GAV, the remaining chapter together is not as big as GAV. GAV is the biggest part of the calculation. So yes, we will learn how to calculate annual value. Orally, we know the meaning. Actual rent or market rent? Actual rent we still know, we can find out from our bank statement, from the agreement. But what is market rent? How to calculate market rent? That will be taught to you in the calculation of GAV. Next, from this we will subtract something called municipal taxes paid by the owner. Okay, listen to this carefully. Income tax believes in net basis taxation, not on gross basis. Now that you have started learning indirect tax, you understand indirect tax applies on sales, because consumer is consuming worth that amount. But direct taxes apply on profits. So for any income, if there is an expense, basic principle of income tax law, whenever there is any expense incurred for the purpose of earning income, mitra, what? Whenever there is any expense incurred for the purpose of earning income, we pay tax on the net amount after minusing the expense. Say, I purchase for 10 lakh and sell for 15 lakh. Inflow is 15 lakh, but tax I will pay only on 5 lakh, because 10 lakh was expense incurred. Without 10 lakh, I will never get sales. So income tax will tax you on the profits. In sales of 15 minus cost of 10, my profit is 5, my income is 5. I will pay tax on 5. And this applies in all chapters. This is the capacity of the property to generate rent. But every property stands on land belonging to the government. Bro, properties, immovable properties are constructed on land. Gravity. Land belongs to the government. And for every property, residential or commercial, you must know this. Government, municipal corporation will always levy on you something called your annual property taxes. Every property we have to pay property taxes. If you don't pay your property taxes, the local authority will stop the water supply, electricity supply in your building. Think about it. If your premises is without water supply, without electricity supply, will anybody give you rent? So will you be left with any capacity of generating rent? No one will give you rent of a property which has no water, no electricity. You agree with that? So we have to keep paying our municipal taxes, that also on time. So once we pay the property tax, am I incurring an expense to maintain the value of my property? And income tax ka principle is, if there is an expense, we will get the deduction of that expense. So any municipal taxes that are paid in respect of this property for which we are calculating your income, we will be getting something called deduction. Deduction means reduce it from your income and pay tax on the net amount. The net amount referred to as the net annual value, that is NAV. So first learn how to calculate GAV, the complicated calculation. Then check if the municipal taxes are. Observe two things. One, they have to be paid. Means if they are outstanding, you won't get deduction. You get deduction only and only if you have paid. Two, who is the assessee? Think about it. The landlord is the assessee or the tenant is the assessee? Who is earning rent? Owner. So deduction will be given to you only if you have incurred the expense. Think about it. That means the municipal taxes have to be paid by the way, outside this classroom, general norm, that tenant will only pay rent. All society related charges like society ka maintenance, that owner has to pay. As I told you, I have one property given on rent and one taken on rent. The one which I have given on rent, that maintenance I am paying. And the one which I have taken on rent, that maintenance my owner is paying. Property taxes to the local authority. My owned property ka I am paying and my rented property ka the owner is paying. So these dues, government dues on the property, society dues on the property, they are always a responsibility of the owner only. For all practical purposes, you will find the owner only paying. But sometimes they can do this setting also, no? That take less rent and make your tenant pay the property taxes. So if your tenant has paid the property taxes, you won't get deduction. You will get deduction only if you have paid. By the way, it is not advisable to make your tenant pay property taxes and society maintenance. Because if the tenant starts paying property taxes and society maintenance, it becomes even more difficult to make him vacate. Because they can always prove, I am paying all these dues, that means it is my property. Possession is very, very important and very, very difficult to get it back once given to someone. So it is advisable that the owner should always pay. So have you paid and incurred the expense? Take the deduction and then you will get your net annual value. Think about it. Am I going to teach you calculation of GAV? Obviously, yes. Then whether the municipal taxes are paid or unpaid, that question has to give. No? Owner paid or tenant paid, question has to give. Question will give you the data about municipal taxes. So practical life, you can go and ask the client, the assessee, that have you paid the property taxes? Show me the bill. And question they will give you. So we get our NAV. For calculation of NAV, you don't need brain. You need calculator. How? GAV done. Municipal tax is done. So the difference becomes your NAV. This is the final annual value of your property. And this chapter at the beginning only told you that we will take tax from you on the annual value of the property, not the actual rent, but the annual value. Correct? But just now I told you that will there always be expenses that you are going to incur? Other than the property taxes also, will there be expenses? For example, any property, I told you society maintenance, owner only has to pay. But that is not covered in this deduction. This deduction is only covering municipal taxes which are paid to the government. Society ka charge is not covered. That also owner has to pay. Is it possible owner has taken property insurance? Think about it. That owner will be paying the premium to maintain the property in proper condition, so that if there is any event that takes place, I still have safeguarded my property. If there are leakages, You should know. See, internal damage, tenant is responsible. But if there is an external leakage, walls are leaking, there is leakage from the floor above you in your house, or there is leakage from your house to the floor below you. So it is the responsibility of the owner to get all that repaired. That means other than municipal taxes, will the owner have lot of other expenses also? Yes. Are all these expenses necessary for maintaining this property and keeping on generating the rent? That means, logically speaking, with what I taught you as the basic principle of income tax, expense incurred for earning income will be a deduction. Expense incurred for earning income will be a deduction. So, should we subtract all these expenses? But here is the problem. The owner is saying, sir, this property I took as an investment. That once I buy, I give it to a tenant and I sit at my house and peacefully earn my rent. I have my main business is something else. I have to focus on that. Or maybe I am a salaried employee. I have to focus on that. I can't take away my focus from that and maintain records, bills, etc. of this property. Plumber has come to do the repairing, to keep bill. Society ka maintenance I have paid, so again maintain the records. It is difficult for me. See, when I am doing a business, no? In my business, I have to be perfect with my record keeping. All sales ka bill, purchase ka bill, expense ka bill, I will maintain proper files, etc. because it is a part of the business. But this was investment. You can't be expecting me to maintain records of all my actual expenses in a property which is investment. This will increase my work, but then what's the point of making investment? So kindly give me some other way. In a chapter like business, is it your responsibility to maintain all the bills? So believe me, what is written in PGBP chapter, all your actual expenses for which you have bills will be allowed as a deduction. But in house property, I don't have the time and energy to maintain those records. So in house property, for all the other expenses, should we get deduction? See what they have done. They say, we will give you deductions under section 24. Section 24 clause A is a deduction called standard deduction, which will be calculated at 30% of your NAV. You can call it notional basis. It is assumed that 30% of your NAV is expense incurred in the form of maintenance, repairs, insurance, leakages, etc. 30% will be considered as your expense. So if 100 is your capacity, net capacity, pay tax on 70. 30% will cover all your expenses. No need to maintain individual expense ka record. It is an investment. You don't have to waste time. In business, you will have to maintain. Even before starting PGBP chapter, I tell you in advance. In PGBP, you get deduction of actual expenses on the basis of maintaining records. But in house property, we don't have to maintain records because we are using it as investment. We will give you something called standard deduction. The standard deduction must be there, no, in your TY/BCom graduation. Why it is a standard deduction and not actual expenses ka deduction? Abbe, now to you know. So now ask other people doing CA if they know the reason behind standard deduction in house property and actual expense deduction in PGB. Let's focus on house property for the time. Standard deduction will be 30% of your net annual value. So you have to put effort, think about it, only to calculate GAV. Think about it, observe the format. Put all your efforts and calculate GAV, 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 GAV. Once GAV is done, municipal taxes question will tell you. Paid or unpaid, landlord or tenant. If paid by the owner, subtract. What do you get on your calculator? NAV. Let it remain on your calculator. Because of that amount only, you have to do multiply by 30 upon 100 or multiply by 0.3 or multiply by 30%. This is all same. 30% and you get your standard deduction also. That means property taxes ka deduction we will get on actual basis because that bill comes only once in a year. You should know this. Property taxes are levied by municipal corporation only once in a year. Only once in a year. So one record you can maintain. So that will be actual expense. But all other expense will be covered under standard deduction. We don't have to maintain record. Only one separate thing will come here. Standard deduction will cover everything except municipal taxes and this one thing. if there is any interest that you have paid on borrowed capital. If there is any interest paid on borrowed capital. Look at me. Look at the honesty. You think I can buy property? Yeah. Residential or commercial? People always say keep your plans private because nazar is real. These days, everyone on social media is saying nazar is real. But with the grace of God, through touch wood, 2024 was lucky. I actually purchased my own house also, my own office also, and gave everything on rent. Bro, you think I have money to buy classroom? Of course, I just purchased. That is good enough to start a classroom. 750 square feet is good enough. I can have 2 classrooms, 1 office easily. But when you can exploit other people's classrooms, when you can use classrooms belonging to other people who are in any case very happy to have you at your conditions, then generate your revenue here and plus extra revenue in the rent. Be smart. Be smart. And this is where costing the knowledge helps. Supposingly, I start the classroom in my own premises instead of giving on rent. What is my loss? 1, all the rent that I'm earning will be lost. 2, now I will have to have actual expense of running the class. That means right now electricity is paid by the tenant. I will have to pay. I will have to hire staff. I will have to leave everything and sit there to run the class. Today I am traveling to multiple places to generate revenue. All the names are written on the back cover of the book. बाद में revise करके आना है last question. I will have to leave all that and sit at one place. Plus staff hassle and believe me, running a coaching class specially for CA is really difficult. Very difficult. Because everyone has tantrums. Students, parents, professors, admin staff, everyone has tantrums and class owner has to handle everyone. One student has problem with another, one parent has problem with that, one staff member has problem with another, one professor has problem with another. Neighboring class ka owner is coming and saying your kids are standing outside my classroom, watchman is coming. Example. Watchman is coming and saying that your kids are gathering in the society compound and you have to handle everyone. And ultimately, what are you going to take home? Today, CA coaching classes should rename themselves to charitable institutes. And believe me, it is true. Unlike the fees paid in MBA or engineering or medical or crazy fees people are paying over there, CA coaching classes are virtually running as charitable institutes. So whatever profit I will make, that I sit and calculate after doing so much. Go and quote this amount to a class owner if the class owner is ready to pay you that much. So you are free from all the headache. You are getting your revenue. And plus that extra revenue, plus not incurring cost, plus the freedom of going wherever you want. All that. So, bro, whether I purchase the residential property or commercial property, they are both on loans. Of course, home loans ka rate of interest are lower than commercial property ka. Commercial property, no banking language, they call it NRP, non-residential property. The rate of interest is higher. To be exact, home loan is about 8.25% and office ka loan is about 9.5%. So in 15 years, the interest payable will be more than the loan that I have taken. But yes, during 15 years, if you have surplus cash, you just prepay your loans and settle it. Home loan business is the backbone of the banking sector today. All the banks in the country are running on the home loan business. Our government is encouraging that please take home loans. We don't want anybody to sleep on a footpath and film stars come and kill them. Their driver. So government encourages taking loans for acquiring property. One more advice, financial advice. Supposingly you are buying a property, 5 crore rupees ka. In your bank account you have 10 crore rupees lying. Still take loan. On that 5 crore property, still take loan. Take only 5 lakh ka loan. You have 10 crore, you have double money. Still take. Because now the bank people will come and examine the property, its condition, its papers. Supposingly, I am claiming to be owner of the property. Am I really the owner? Bank will give a set of documents. You may not have knowledge also. Like I told you about chain agreements. I told you about shared certificate. I told you about OC, plan of the housing society. Society formation certificate. Whether that person is really the owner or not. Whether that person has taken a bank loan and his certificates are lying with the bank. So he cannot sell the property unless he first clears the bank loan. Society NOC, bank NOC. All that bank will collect from the seller. You will get hassle-free title of your property. Just imagine, you have 5 crore you pay. And after paying 5 crore, someone comes and tells you that this person is not the real owner, I am the real owner, you'll have to pay me. So the remaining 5 in your bank account also you have to pay. All the investigation of the title will be done by the bank for a nominal amount of 5 lakh also. So even if you have money, yes, once the title is peacefully transferred to you, once the property is registered in your name, shared certificate is transferred, you have funds, repay the bank loan and get rid of the interest. But always take loan even if you have money. And I took loan in both properties because I did not have money. Bro, both were expensive properties. So, is there interest that I am paying on these loans? Think about it. If I take a loan and with that loan money I buy property, the property is generating rent, but against that rent I have to also pay interest. Is this interest an expense? Yes. See, property taxes are covered separately, they come once in a year. Standard deduction can cover all other day-to-day expenses. But interest may or may not come for every house owner. Think about it. If actually you have purchased with own money, you were sure about the title of the seller, you are only the society ka secretary, you know that that person is the real owner, and you had money, then why go into the hassle of bank loan? So is it possible that there are some people who don't have this? Standard deduction is for everyone. For those who have interest, it is extra expense. So interest will be taken separately. This total will become your deduction from NAV. So from NAV, we will be getting 2 deductions. Standard deduction, interest deduction. Or total mein we are getting 3 deductions. From GAV, we are getting 1. Which one? Municipal taxes. And then from NAV, we will get 2 deductions. That is standard deduction and interest. And this, ladies and gentlemen, becomes your income from house property. Income tax is payable on NTTI. In NTTI, we have to write 5 heads. This amount will go in my NTTI. Like this, I have to teach you 4 more heads. How to calculate income under salary, income under PGBP, income under capital gain, income under other sources. Take that final figure of every head. Add all of them. That's not NTTI. That's not even GTI. Because we have to do clubbing set of odds. Then we get GTI. Then from that GTI give. Finally, you'll get NTTI after your deductions. So this is just the beginning. I told you last class also when I started this. This is the real commencement of your income tax study. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is the format, pro forma manner of calculating income under house property. First, the biggest of all, GAV, gross annual value. Once GAV is done, check in the question about property taxes, municipal taxes, only if paid by the owner. The net amount is your NAV. Give 2 deductions. What are the 2 deductions? Standard deduction and interest deduction. Standard and interest. Give these 2 deductions and you will get your income from house property. What is the agenda of this chapter? Do you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things here? We will give a heading. We will give a heading like this. First thing in the pro forma, GAV, gross annual value. Learn the entire calculation of GAV from top to bottom, from start to end with every condition. Learn the calculation of GAV. Everything. From start to end, from top to bottom. What do you learn? Calculation of GAV. Is correct? After you finish GAV, Then don't start staring at my handsome face. I will ask you, now what? Municipal taxes. Now what? NAV. Now what? Standard deduction. Now what? Interest. Pro forma over. Just 3-4 general more points to be noted. Chapter over. And all these are really very small. Time will be consumed in learning calculation of GAV. So let's be clear about the agenda of the chapter. Whatever we have written in the pro forma, one by one, we will learn all of that in detail, starting with the first and the biggest of all, learning of how to calculate gross annual value. We understand orally that annual value means actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. But that is meaning. Now, sir, teachers, in the calculation, what we have to write? In that also, actual rent requires no explanation. Come on. We will write in the agreement and check in the passbook. Actual rent requires no explanation. Hello? क्या हो क्या रहा है यार? हाँ, sorry. Actual rent is very easy to identify. Sir, what is actual rent? As per bank statement. What is difficult? Market rent. So we will learn how to calculate market rent. Final answer will be actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. In fact, first is to learn market rent, because actual requires no explanation. After we complete market rent, then we just have to show actual rent and say whichever is higher. Let us understand GAV calculation in 7 steps. There are 7 steps in this calculation. Big calculation. Don't think about everything at one time. Think about one thing at a time. Step number 1 in calculation of GAV, something called municipal valuation. Step number 1, municipal valuation, about which I will tell you 3 things. Municipal valuation, about which I will tell you 3 things. Sir, first, what is the meaning? Second, in real life, if you are working in the case of any client, so where will you get this amount from? And 3, as a student in your CA exam, where will you get this amount from? Because practical life and exam life are 2 different things. First, the meaning. Second, CA life. Third, student life. Municipal valuation is basically annual value of your property. Can I say annual value means capacity to generate rent? The rental capability of your property as per local authority. As per local authority. Do we know that municipal corporation is going to charge every year something called property taxes? They levy them at a percentage. They call them rates. For example, we have to pay 10% property taxes every year. This 10% will be calculated on what? Municipal corporation identifies my property can generate how much rent in the full year. Because property taxes are once in a year. So they will check income earning ability of my property of the entire year. They will not be making calculation per month or calculation per square feet or calculation per day or per week, anything. The calculation is going to be full year ka capacity. And by the way, what if I tell you, we are happy if they give the amount on a per annum basis, because for income tax also we want annual rent only. Income tax also will not be levied on your daily rent or monthly rent. Income tax will come on annual income. So what is the annual income generating ability of your property is what we want to calculate. One calculation is done by municipal corporation also. Municipal corporation is not doing it for income tax purposes. Municipal corporation is doing why? For property taxes. So for example, as per municipal corporation, your property will generate 10 lakh rupees rent. As per municipal corporation, your property will generate 10 lakh rupees ka rent. So you have to pay 1 lakh rupees property taxes. That means municipal valuation is 10 lakh. Municipal valuation is done by municipal corporation. That is the rent generating capacity. For the capital gains chapter, our local authority, municipal corporation, will do one more valuation, the market price of the property. Because did I in the last class tell you that wherever land is involved, cash will be involved? Yes. In rent as well as sale transaction. So in the rent wala chapter, we have actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. And in the sale chapter, capital gains also, we have actual selling price or market price, whichever is higher. So here, municipal corporation will calculate your annual income earning capacity, and then municipal corporation will calculate your sale capacity. And which one thing everyone understands, that the annual rent of a property and the selling price of a property will be two different things. A 5 crore rupee property in Mumbai on an average generates about 18 lakh rupees rent. So municipal corporation will do this valuation as well as that valuation. The sale valuation will be done for capital gains and the rent valuation will be done for municipal taxes, house property. On the municipal valuation, we have to pay property taxes, and on that value, the buyer has to pay stamp duty. So local authority also gets taxes every time a rent or a sale deal takes place. You understood this? So, is this the rent generating capacity of a property? As per local authority. What is municipal valuation? It is annual value. Capacity. But not as per income tax, as per local authority. Meaning is understood? Now the question is, sir, where will I get this from? Every year, every municipal corporation, whether it is municipal corporation of Greater Mumbai or anybody traveling from other parts of Mumbai here, like from faraway places, anyone? Beyond municipal corporation of Greater Mumbai? No one. You have Kochi Municipal Corporation. You have Chennai Municipal Corporation. Kya? What? It comes under Greater Mumbai only. After you cross the Isar ka Cheknaka, then you are in a place called Mira Bhayandar Municipal Corporation. From Mulund, if you cross the Cheknaka, it is Thane Municipal Corporation. From Vashi or Airoli, if you cross, it is Navi Mumbai Municipal Corporation. But this entire zone is known as Mumbai Metropolitan Region. But before the Hisar, everything is considered Mumbai. Where do you stay? I have born and I mean, you know, you are making from Prabhadev, you are making fun of Kandivali. Ek minute. I am born and brought up in South Mumbai, Charni Road. And anybody who used to stay in Dadar also, in my childhood, I used to call him Gaon. Stop making fun of anybody who is staying away from you, because I go and teach in a place called Mulund, and over there students from Thane, Kalyan, Dombivali, Badlapur, all those students come. Now Mulund students make fun of them. Then I tell them, stop making fun, because there is someone from Ghatkopar who is making fun of you. Then I tell them, stop making fun of them, because there is someone from Dadar. Then stop, bro, there is somebody in Kafparit who is laughing at all of us. Stop making fun of people on the basis of their geographical location. You are making fun of Kandivali. What if one day you get such a husband or father-in-law who takes you and makes you live in Badlapur? From today, everyone call her Badlapur. Her name, she is renamed to Badlapur. Dombivali? नहीं, Badlapur में she will still remain alive. So every property comes under jurisdiction of some local authority, whether municipal corporation of Greater Mumbai or municipal corporation of Delhi or Ahmedabad municipal corporation, Kochi municipal corporation, Chennai municipal corporation. And every municipal corporation every year releases a book called Ready Reckoner. General knowledge I am giving you. In that they mention the rental capacity. In fact, books now after a time become outdated. Every year I have to change my books. But they also have a website of the same name, readyreckoner.in. You go to this website, readyreckoner.in. You first put your state, then put your city, and then put your PIN code. You know the relevance of PIN code? Every building in that PIN code ka name is written on that website, either by name or by building number. And in that building, what is the per square feet rent? Of course, which you multiply with your house ka capacity, matlab your house ka area, multiply by the per square feet rent and multiply by number of months. So you will get the municipal valuation of your property. You can get it from the book also. You can get it from the website also. So first, what is municipal valuation? Annual value as per local authority. Second, where will we get it from in practical life? Website or book. Third, now you are a CA student giving CA inter exam. You have a question where you have to solve income from house property. The first step is municipal valuation. Obviously, along with that, they will give you address of that property and they will give you an internet enabled tab. In that internet enabled tab, you have to enter the address of the property and enter the pin code of the property. Hey, what are you listening with so much attention? Obviously, nahi na. Someone like, sir. Address and then tab. We can access other websites also. Can we cheat using? Arey bro. Some were listening to this with so much attention. Sir. Tab. Internet enabled. Okay, we have to enter the address. Digitalized CA exams. Wow. Gadeda, it will be given in your question paper. In the question itself. Mr. X has given a property on rent. Municipal valuation is 10 lakh rupees per annum. Of course. First time you are learning this in life because I am not counting your TYB. You are also not counting. First time you are learning this in your life, so I have to tell you your meanings. After today, think about it. How easy it is. You have not done anything. What have you done? Nothing. Municipal valuation given in the question, just copy in the answer. Municipal valuation given 10 lakh and take every amount annual basis. Because income tax also has to be calculated on annual basis. So what have you done till now? Don't say copied from the question paper. That's as good as nothing. Correct? Fantastic. Next. Fair rent. Array, one word has multiple meanings. This fair does not mean fair and lovely wala fair. First the meaning. Meaning, then two more things. See, first meaning, then how we will get it in practical life, then finally how we will get it in exam life. Fair rent means reasonable rent of your property based on various factors. Reasonable rent based on various factors. So, tell me if you relate to this. Your property is in which state? Does that change the value? In state which city it is? Does that change the value? In city which area it is? Obviously, Kandivali is more expensive than Badlapur. Which state it is? Will it change the value? Yes. Which city, which area? In the area, which road it is? Will it change the value? If it is on the main road or if it is inside the lane, will it change the value? Yes. On the same road, which building it is? Two buildings next to each other also, no? Rates are different. Do you agree? In the same building on which floor it is, will it change the value? Do you know that higher floor is higher value? So same building, floor also changes. Same floor, which side it is? Is it east, west or north, south? Are you able to see from your window? What are you able to see? Is it sea view or is it city view or it's slum view? And I am not asking about your, I am slum view. Which building it is? I will know. You took some stuff from your brother yesterday. How is he doing in his exam? Tax ka paper hai. I know. He's done well. Accounts was difficult. No, it was easy. And what did he give you last night? Where do you stay? You'll stay in the same house together only. Dadar mein where? Okay. The way towards Siddhivinayak temple. Okay. So bro, whatever view from your house, my question was about that particular building which we have in mind. Which view you get, does that change the value of your property? Bro, who are your neighbors? No, this is not funny. This is not funny. As ugly as it may get, your neighbor ka religion and food preference also changes the value of it. This is ugly. This is nasty. But in a city like Mumbai, financial capital of the country, yes, it does happen. Like, believe me, in Mumbai there is this area called Baikala. My cousin brother wanted to buy a property in a new building under construction. Famous developer, very famous developer in that area. And every developer, no, they have, wherever they start their new project, they first make a sample flat, a site office, and then they send staff over there. And whenever a person is coming for a site visit for showing interest in the property, they play a very smart game. In their entire sales team, whoever is the most good looking female, they send her as the front executive to deal with the client. Trick hai ye. Bro, I am very sakht. I don't melt so easily. Okay, but it's a game that they play. Okay, she'll come, sir. These are the property details. My cousin is, bro, not even interested in the property. First of all, I did not want to accompany him, but he said that, yeah, you are educated. He is like proper typically into, that Marwadi business zone. He has no knowledge of law. He has no legal knowledge, nothing. He knows how to do his business and he's making money in his business. But how to talk to people, and the moment, you just imagine, she's speaking few lines in English. So he needed me with him. He took me. And see, now, believe me, bro, I have in this profession in 14 years. Thousands of people have come and gone in front of me in the classroom. You have no idea about how many good-looking faces I have already seen in my life, because my job involves interaction with people. So thousands of good-looking faces have come, have gone. I do not get affected at all now. Diminishing marginal utility. There is a certain, bro, I don't get excited so easily. Now for me, it is more than the looks. It is about how good you are in talking, what is your level of intellect, how you take things, your positivity. So that is what I search in my neighbors. Your approach towards life, or how you deal with life ka problems, etc. Your maturity levels, how confidential you can keep our discussions. Those things are more relevant for me. I don't get I don't get so easily affected with that much, bro. There is something called age and maturity, no? So I always tell my neighbors that you need to put more efforts. You won't get me so easily. I am expensive. I am very expensive. But that's a trick. क्या बोला? Yeah. Bro, but it was a male voice. You didn't say it. I am expensive. Yeah, bro. Listen, one more thing. I am expensive. And I don't have weird fantasies also. So I am. So whoever said that, yeah, even if you have the budget, I am not in it. Okay. Coming back to the point. My cousin, I told you, typical Marwadi upbringing. His question was, will there be people in the society? You are selling flats to everyone, no? Will there be people in the society who will consume non-veg food? See, because he has been, he is raised in that culture, raised in that environment. I have had friends of all types, all kinds. I have had students of all kinds. See, I have got no problem with your religion, your belief, your food habits. As long as you are paying me, I am okay with it. As long as you are taking admission in my class, I am okay with it. But if you say that, sir, we'll share lunch on the same table, I will eat non-veg, I am also uncomfortable. Same table, I may not be comfortable. Bro, if your pets have licked you and you are sharing the plate with me, I cannot allow you. It's more about the hygiene part of it. But he is not comfortable on the same floor also. So he asked that lady, that what about your buyers? She's like, sir, actually floor number 13, 15 and 17 are the only non-veg floors in our project. Can you believe that? Can you believe that? A sales girl in the developer ka team, and a very reputed developer, I'll not take the name of the developer in the project. She's saying floor number 13, 15 and 17 are non-veg floors. All other floors are veg floors. Yeah. I said, okay ma'am, I am paying you the token money right now because I told you, no, I don't get easily affected. So I am telling you, no, only these 3 floors, sir. Trust me, sir. Sir, you'll have tea or coffee. पहले वो timing, bro. But that can work on my cousin. No, it did not work on me. Of course, she gave only 2 options: tea, coffee. She didn't say tea, coffee, or me. So my cousin was in some other zone. Bus. My cousin was in some other zone. I said, ma'am, I am paying you the token money right now. Make the agreement and mention in the agreement that floor 13, 15 and 17 will be non-veg floors. Please. Sir, no, sir, you know it. We cannot mention in the agreement. Then stop talking nonsense. And then one smart statement I make in front of every stranger. Google my name. Google my name. You'll come to know why I did not get easily affected as my brother. Google my name. And ma'am, stop talking nonsense. And stop selling properties like this. This is not how it works. You and me find it inappropriate because we are, in that education ka field, blah, 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 blah. So when a developer ka sales team knows my background, you know how that team convinces me? Not like that, sir. Because they first do a background check. They make you fill the form. On the basis of form, they understand who is more appropriate in the sales team for you. So when it is a businessman, they send that good-looking female. When it's a professional, bro, they send males. But at least that injustice you should not be doing. So what if I don't get affected? Their pitch in front of us is, sir, in this building there will be doctors, there will be lawyers, there will be like-minded people, there will be bankers. You can increase your network. It will be good for you. It's a big house. Oh, you run coaching classes, sir, 450 household. Every house will have kids pursuing commerce education. We take mentorship from FYJC to CA final. My mentorship is not coaching. My mentorship is that you as a student may be good in one subject or bad in one subject. You are good in accounts. You have extremely good accounts teacher. So you will get good marks. You are average in audit and you get extremely good teacher in audit. So you will still make it. You are poor in law and you get poor coaching in law. Then that is where CA students get the trouble. In that subject in which they are weak if their guidance is not proper. Many a times, those who don't clear, it is that one subject which is responsible. Go check. In case you have given more than one attempt for foundation, you know this for a fact that maybe it was only law or only maths or that one subject which stopped you. Otherwise, you were not a bad student. So, how to improve on your weakness is the main thing that I do. So, see, if you are doing mentorship, you will get admissions from every household here. Develop the name. Be active in the society events. Even today, currently, my housing society, any big event takes place, I do some kind of sponsorship over there. And anything spent on sponsorship gets recovered. Because quite a few society ka kids take the mentorship. So it's not a bad deal. That's how the sales team is trying to convince me. Same property, same building. If that sales team has to talk to my mother about the same property, you understood how they convinced me? My mother ko what are they saying? Auntie, this building mein na, the builder will construct a Jain temple. And the moment auntie hears about the Jain temple, auntie is least bothered about anything else. So auntie is not interested if there is a swimming pool or a gymnasium or a clubhouse or a spa inside the building. She is happy with that one thing only. They play with your mindset. They play with the thought process of which is that particular thing that they will bring on the table, which will convince you to buy their property or take their property on rent. All these brokers now, because we are not currently talking about sale properties, we are talking about rental properties. How do the brokers convince the tenants? Sir, very nice play area, your kids will enjoy. Sir, senior citizen area, your parents will enjoy. Sir, you will get good network over here. Sir, your wife will also be able to make a good circle over here. In my building, if any broker is bringing any new person, he does not take to the home first. He takes the team, the buyer or the tenant at a tour of the entire building, that these are the things that you will get as facilities inside. So which building which floor will generate what rent on the basis of market factors like area, floor, facilities inside the building, view from the house. All this together will decide what is the fair rent of your property, the reasonable rent based on various factors. Is that understood? Meaning, sir, in real life, where will you get it from? It is always the brokers who decide. If the broker says, no, in this building, you will get definitely this much rent, then you don't have to go below that. Or it depends on the broker whether he wants to increase the rate of a particular building or decrease. Believe me, they are very powerful. If the broker tells you that your property will remain vacant, there is no one, reduce 15,000, then I will get customers. So you have to reduce. In real life, the brokers play a very, very important role in determining the fair rent of your property. So obviously, in your exam, that broker will come with you. You just have to pay him that 3-hour ka charges. Correct? Huh? Exam mein aayega. You have anyone in real estate business in your house? नहीं. अच्छा, बदलापुर में प्रॉपर्टी का वैल्यूज आर टू लेस. Fair rent will also be given. So step number 1, municipal valuation given. Step number 2, fair rent given. What have you done? Nothing. Very good. Step number 3. Now think about it and tell me, what is your expectation? What is your expected rent? Supposingly municipal valuation is 10 lakh rupees. But and I am talking about all figures annually, because we are interested in annual figures. Income tax is payable on annual amount. So I am not discussing monthly rent or weekly rent or daily rent or square feet rent. Annual rent of the property is 10 lakh. But broker says I will bring you a customer of 11 lakh. So what will be your expectation? Obviously, if broker is giving you encouragement, you will believe that 11 lakh is possible. Alternatively, if municipal corporation is taxing you on 11 lakh and broker brings a customer of 10 lakh, then what will you say? Arey sir, 11 lakh to municipal valuation. At least that much you should pay me, no? In other words, what is going to be your expectation? Municipal valuation or fair rent, whichever is higher. Municipal valuation or fair rent, whichever is higher. Proper example I will do later. Municipal valuation or fair rent, whichever is higher. So step number 1, municipal valuation given. Step number 2, fair rent given. Step number 3, expected rent, whichever is higher. What have you done till now? Nothing. Don't say, sir, I chose higher. Wow, achievement. What have you done till now? Nothing. Nothing. Next step. Step number 4. Standard rent under Rent Control Act. Standard rent under Rent Control Act. Short name SRRCA. Before I tell you the meaning, let me begin by telling you, this does not come always. This will come only if applicable, because this is under the power of state government. It is the state government which will decide whether there will be standard rent in the state or not. For example, we do have a Bombay Rent Control Act, but there may not be a Gujarat Rent Control Act. There may be a Madhya Pradesh Rent Control Act, but there may not be a Rajasthan Rent Control Act. This particular thing depends from state to state. Ultimate controlling body, deciding authority here is the state government. The state government will decide whether the state needs a rent control act or no. Rent Control Act basically means that in the given state, you will not be allowed to charge more than this much in the form of rent. Rentals in my state should not become very expensive. Any state which wants to favor the tenants will have this law. And you'll find a lot of state governments favoring tenants because tenants are voters. Very harsh, but true. Those who have money to buy houses don't have time to vote. Those who can afford houses are well to do, don't take elections seriously. The people who go and stand in a queue during elections are those who generally have, less money and too much of time. Voting percentage in our country, any election, Lok Sabha elections, state assembly elections, has been horrible always. Only in the last few years, it has started actually crossing the 50% mark. Once upon a time, it used to be less than 50, 30, 40% voting. Very, 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 very bad voting percentage. And then people always, criticize the government. But on the election day, you haven't voted. Those who have turned 18, so except you, everyone, it is your responsibility. Believe me, ladies and gentlemen, it has been 18 years since I have turned 18. I told you, you all are half my age. I don't look uska, so what do I do? I know I look very young, very handsome. I am aware of these facts. Whether you laugh at them or no, facts remain facts. They don't change. All the Lok Sabha elections that took place in these years, 2009, 14, 19, 24, all the Maharashtra elections that took place, same 4. Because Maharashtra election and Lok Sabha election always happen same year. All the municipal corporation elections that took place, all the ICAI elections that took place, I have never missed a single vote. Never. This year, Lok Sabha election in Mumbai was 20th May. I don't know whether you are aware. Maharashtra election took place in November. Lok Sabha was 20th May. I was not in India. At 4 o'clock, I landed in India. 20th May. I reached home by about 5:30. Early morning, no traffic. And because Australia is about 4.5 hours before India. So 5 o'clock here was 9:30 over there. So I was in that cycle. I didn't get sleep. I directly went to the voting center. First voter in my constituency. That also I reached the Havaldar. The constable said that it has not started, come after half an hour. I said, sir, 6 o'clock ka time. He said, no, come after half an hour. So, eat like there is no tomorrow. And then I reached the center back. Early morning. Record. See, if I am honest with my duty as a citizen, then I have the right to criticize the government. Okay, so those who have turned 18 now, so everyone other than you, that is nail polish. Black color ka single line who puts, bro? And these days, so nails ka kya things have come. No, I have some women in my house. I have my mother, my wife, my brother's wife, my sister, uncle's daughter. She sometimes comes here, not frequently. Nail ke upar nail ke, and when they pluck it out, so their nail also comes out along with what do you call it? Extension, nail art, nail baba, bro. That is why I'm proud of myself. I'm natural beauty, bro. I don't need artificial stuff to put on myself. So ye artificial hai. So minor, once you turn adult, please make sure that you vote in every election. So generally tenants are voters, and therefore those state governments, to favor the tenants, create tenant favorable law that you cannot charge more than this much rent. They can make it area wise or city wise, whatever it is. If your state has a rent control act, then only this point is applicable. Be clear. That means if your state does not have rent control act, this point is not applicable. Is that clear? And if it is applicable, now before the meaning, this time let me tell you this only. Obviously, it will be given to you. But if it is applicable, what is this? You cannot charge more than this much in my state. So the maximum rent that will be charged, because we want to bring something called rent control in our state, and for that we will have to go and check if that state in which this property, income tax is not a state law, income tax is Indian law. No, it can be one state having rent control, another state does not having rent control. If your state has rent control, then maximum you can charge this much. So what is the impact of having rent control? Think about it. I was having very high expectations because of municipal valuation and fair rent, whichever is higher. But if my state has rent control, so do you realize I will have to bring my expectation down? Supposingly, municipal valuation was 10 lakh and broker brings a customer of 11. So what was my expectation? 11. But then I realized that in my state, rent control act states that you are not allowed to charge more than. So do you realize I will have to reduce my expectation and bring it down to 9? No. You understand? So your expected rent will be brought down because of standard rent if applicable. And if not applicable, then expected rent will remain as it is. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, we will get something called, step number 5, we will get something called annual letting value, which can be known as, in short, ALV, also known as reasonable letting value. ALV, also known as RLV, annual letting value or reasonable letting value, is going to be, I was having big expectations, but suddenly I realized that my state has standard rent. So do I have to bring my expectation down? So expected rent or standard rent, whichever is lower. Expected rent or standard rent, whichever is lower. Did you understand this? Annual letting value or reasonable letting value is expected rent or standard rent, whichever is lower. So in our example, what is our ALV? 9. What is GAV in words, please? Full form nahi. How to find out GAV? Actual rent or market rent, whichever is, this is market rent, which we will of course compare with actual rent, which is my next point. But what is market rent? The GAV ka calculation was mainly involved in learning market rent. Actual rent to bank statement will tell you, no? Hello. So this is market rent. You can get a small MCQ also of 1 mark, giving you 3 amounts. If you observe carefully, question gives 3 amounts. Which 3 amounts? Municipal valuation, fair rent, standard rent. 3 amounts question will give. With that, you can complete 5 steps. 3 amounts given. First step, municipal valuation given. Second step, fair rent given. Third step, expected rent, whichever is. Fourth step, standard rent given. Fifth step, ALV, whichever is lower. And if there is no standard rent, then expected rent only will become. अब पागल के जैसे don't say sir standard rent 0, so whichever is lower 0. It is not applicable, not 0. So expected rent will become ALV. But if the question gives standard rent, then it will be expected rent or standard rent, whichever is lower. This, ladies and gentlemen, will become your market rent. Market rent. Is that clear? Now the next step, because what is annual value? Market rent will be compared with actual rent. Obviously, actual rent also, come on, use your brain and understand. Actual rent also has to be, actual rent obviously will be given. You do some black magic effect, eyes ka race, every day you do that. Given. Obviously, that is also because it does not happen in any other batch. It happens only in your batch. And don't counter by saying that, sir, in our class also it happens only in your lectures. So why are you doing it only in my class? Do it in all the lectures, no? No, I'll just wait for 10 seconds because I know. The moment I'll again say actual rent given, it will go up. Karu? Shall I do it? No, I'm asking the tab, not you. Actual rent will be given. Obviously, actual rent has to be given. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we actually have derived our GAV. What, sir? What is GAV? GAV is going to be whichever is higher. Now, I am going to sing a song in front of you. The moment you understand the lyrics, the beats, the tempo, the music, you have to join everyone. First, lyrics in slow speed. What is GAV? Because GAV is the first step in calculation of house property, no bro? So believe me, this is what we wanted to calculate. We made the heading and we are learning that. And finally, we are, slowly and gradually coming near the completion of GAV. What is GAV? ALV. ALV will come in 5 steps. Municipal valuation, given. Fair rent, given. Expected rent, higher. Standard rent, given. ALV, lower. We have come to our ALV. ALV is market rent or actual. What is GAV? Whichever is higher. So what is GAV? ALV or actual, whichever is higher. ALV or actual, whichever is higher. Meaning of GAV understood? Lyrics understood? What is GAV? ALV or actual, whichever is higher. ALV or actual, whichever is ALV or actual, whichever is louder. ALV or actual, whichever is higher. Yo. ALV or actual, whichever is higher. Come on. ALV or actual, whichever is higher. GAV is ALV, market rent or actual rent, whichever is higher. GAV is actual rent or market rent, whichever is higher. What's the meaning? Now we know market rent is ALV and actual rent will be given to us. So GAV is understood. That way, does it look like Sarhash GAV over? Nash. Now the complications will start. We have derived GAV, but now we will complicate it. Till now, if you observe, municipal valuation given, fair rent given, standard rent given, actual rent also given. You have literally not done anything, but higher lower you have done. Real complications of GAV will start now. First, there are some complications in this actual rent ka figure. We will discuss that. Next, I am going to be doing a 7th step. Huh? Sir, have you done GAV? GAV is done. GAV is what? ALV or actual, whichever. And after that, you are going to do a 7th step. Yes. We want GAV. We have GAV. Still, we will do. There is some logic. I am in my senses. There is some logic. But one by one. First, the complication of actual rent. Then we go to the 7th step. Sir, actual rent can be of 2 types. One, there will be some amount of actual rent which was receivable. Possible? And then there will be some amount of actual rent that I have received. Sir, normally the amount that I receive should be what is receivable as per contract. Sometimes there will be something called unrealized rent. You can, in more simple language, call it bad debts. Is it possible that the tenant has not paid some portion of your rent? For example, I have given my property at a rent of 10 lakh rupees per annum. So how much the tenant should have paid me? Of course, as per standard rent, I was not allowed. But then standard rent will help the tenant if the tenant has knowledge. My tenant did not have knowledge. My tenant did an agreement with me of 10 lakh. If the tenant is willingly paying, then Rent Control Act will have no objection. When will Rent Control Act come into force? Supposingly, I give my property to my tenant and then every year I am saying pay me extra 20%, extra 20%. Then Rent Control will say no. There is a limit of increment. But to begin with, if I am charging a certain amount and my tenant is desperate and tenant is ready to pay, then there is no rent control. I hope we are clear on this. Okay. So what was receivable? 10. Starting my tenant was paying rent properly. But during the year, he has not given me 2 lakh rupees. Can that become, will that become my bad debts? So if I ask you how much is the received rent, that means what is receivable actual rent? 10 lakh. But what is received actual rent? GAV ka definition does not change because GAV will still be what? ALV or actual, whichever. Carry on. Abhi kya hai? Anyways, it will take time. What is GAV? ALV or actual, whichever is. ALV is one amount, 9 lakh in our example. But in actual, now we have two amounts. We have 10 lakh and 8 lakh. That is received and receivable. Can you clearly observe that? In actual, we have two figures. Received figure and receivable figure. Obviously, we will take received figure or receivable figure. Will it change our answer? Think about it. If we compare with actual receivable, then our answer is going to be 9 or 10, whichever is higher. But if I compare with received, then 9 will become my answer. Matlab, one thing is for sure. Two things are for sure. First, my answer is going to be out of these two, whichever is higher. Second, in these two, whichever I select, it will change my answer. Do you agree? So now the question is, in actual rent, I have to take this or this. That means actual rent, I have to take received or receivable. ALV will remain one figure, but actual has two figures. I have to choose and then compare. So I will first choose 10 or 8. On the basis of that, I will compare with 9 and choose whichever is higher. The answer of GAV is not changing. GAV still remains whichever is higher. But within actual, I have two options. Received or. And one thing, do you agree that whichever I choose, it will change my answer? So the question is, in actual rent, I have to take received ke receivable. Do you understand the question? In actual rent, I have to take received or. What do you think? Received. Why? No. Okay, you may not be able to answer this. Let me only tell you that they have given us some conditions here. See, tell me one thing. If I choose 8 instead of 10, is it beneficial for tax purposes? If I choose 10, my answer will be 10. But if I choose 8, my answer will be 9. So 8 is better than 10 as a taxpayer. For that, I will subtract 2. For that, there are conditions. They have given 4 conditions here. Listen to this carefully. If I fulfill the 4 conditions, then I can take this. I will get deduction and I can take this. But if I dissatisfy the condition, I won't get deduction. I will have to take this. So there is not one answer, received or receivable. It will depend on fulfillment of condition. If you fulfill the condition, receive. If you don't fulfill the condition, if you fulfill conditions, you get deduction, take receive. If you don't fulfill conditions, you won't get deduction, then take receivable. Is that understood? So what do we go and learn now? What are the conditions? In all this chaos, don't forget, GAV is ALV or actual, whichever is higher. In actual, we have 2 options, received or receivable. And whichever option we choose, it will make a difference. Received is better than fulfill conditions. Condition 1. The tenancy has to be bona fide. A proper legally recognized tenancy. A proper agreement you should have done. If you have just given your property to someone on an oral agreement without registering, without paying stamp duty on that agreement, then there will be no help that we will do. This is what is going to be taken. See, before I go to the other conditions, one thing you please understand. I have to fulfill these conditions. If I fulfill these conditions, I will get some benefit. Hello? If I dissatisfy the condition, it is not a crime. I won't go to jail. If I dissatisfy the condition, I will go to jail. No, sir, I'll take this. The condition is not fulfilling or not fulfilling will become a crime. If I fulfill, I pay tax on lower amount by taking receipt. If I don't fulfill, I pay tax on higher amount by taking receivable. Condition fulfillment or non-fulfillment is only going to change this answer, not going to send me to jail. So I have to do a proper agreement. Then I can pay tax on the lower amount. So question or condition 1, the tenancy has to be bona fide. Do you understand this? The tenancy has to be bona fide. Condition 2, make the defaulting tenant vacate your properties. Is that tenant a chore? Chore. अरे मलयालम में what do you call it? Kallan. हाँ. And Tamil में what is a thief called? Tamil में? Any idea? You? Sorry? हाँ, तिरुधन. Tamil में चोर is called तिरुधन. तिरुधन. मलयालम में they call it Kallan. Still easy to pronounce. हिंदी में we call it चोर. English में we call it thief. Now don't take any friend का name here, please. हाँ. If that tenant is not giving your rent, why are you allowing that tenant to stay in your property? Why? Make him vacate. And supposingly you have too much of love and affection, sir, where will he go, poor guy? So let him stay in your property. Allowing him to stay in your property is not a crime. Just that you will have to take receivable amount instead of receivable. You understood? Condition is only for received or receivable. Condition is only for received or receivable. There is no condition for going to jail. So make the defaulting tenant vacate your property or at least initiate steps. When we say initiate steps, does not mean that go to his house and throw his utensils. Initiate steps means send a legal notice. Understood? Put effort to get possession of your property. Then we will genuinely believe that your tenant is a chore, thief, kallan, tirudhan. If you are allowing your tenant to stay in the property, then we will not give you deduction of unrealized rent. Is that clear? Next. Make the defaulting tenant vacate all your other properties also. Make your defaulting tenant vacate all your other properties also. Is it possible you have given one person multiple properties on rent? If that person is not paying rent in one property, that person is a chore. Then make that person vacate all your other properties also, because chore is chore irrespective of property. So make that person vacate this property and also other properties belonging to you. Then only we give deduction. Sir, can I allow them to stay in my other properties? Allow. It is not a crime. Only thing is, come on. I think you're now understanding what is happening. You will have to take receivable instead of receive. And last, take some steps for recovery. Is there someone who is not paying your money? 2 lakh in our example. Whenever someone does not pay your money, you can go for a court case. So file a court case against that person for recovery. You genuinely believe this 2 lakh is yours, no? Then put effort. You should not be letting your hard-earned money go away like that. And if you are willing to let it go away, then pay tax on the higher. Put some effort in recovery, no, if you genuinely believe it's your money. So take some steps for recovery. But here there is a problem. See, what is the amount that I have to recover from the tenant? 2 lakh. If this condition is telling me file a court case, the court case ka time, energy and expenditure will be more than 2 lakh. Think about it. For getting recovery of 2 lakh, does it make sense to spend 5 lakh rupees? You'll recover 2 lakh, but you'll end up spending 5 lakh. Does it make sense? No. Then what's the point of fighting a court case? I won't be. But then if I don't, then fourth condition is not satisfied. Then I will have to pay tax on this despite losing my amount. So, in the fourth condition, we give you one more option. Or, convince your assessing officer. You know who is AO, no? The officer of the income tax department. convince your assessing officer that, sir, taking steps are of no use. In fact, I will end up spending more than recover. Go and make your officer understand, sir, what is the fourth condition? File a case. Sir, how much I will recover by filing the case? 2 lakh. And for that, I will have to spend. Sir, does it make sense? Sir, please understand. You have to make him understand. You have to, everyone focuses here, please. You have to convince your assessing officer. Convince. Make him understand properly. Make him understand in more detail. Take help from Mahatma Gandhi's teachings. Take help from Mahatma Gandhi. And convince your assessing officer that steps are of no use. Then your assessing officer will allow you to take deduction without court case. So if we fulfill 4 conditions, we take received rent. And if we dissatisfy, we take received. What are the 4 conditions to get deduction? Tenancy should be bona fide, vacate this property, vacate all other properties, and steps for recovery. If we fulfill 4 conditions, then we take received, 8 lakh in our example. If we dissatisfy any condition, then we take receivable, that is 10 lakh in our example. But whether we take 8 lakh or 10 lakh, 8 lakh or 10 lakh, 8 lakh or 10 lakh, one thing does not change. ALB or actual, whichever is higher. ALB or actual, whichever is higher. GAV is going to be ALB or actual, whichever is higher. Is that clear? Fantastic. So actual will be given to you. Along with actual, unrealized will also be given to you. And conditions fulfilled or not fulfilled will be given. If conditions are fulfilled, then minus unrealized. Otherwise, don't minus. But till now, all the data is given to you. Think about it. So step number 1, we are doing GAV calculation. Step number 1, municipal valuation. Given. Step number 2, fair rent. Given. Step number 3, expected rent, whichever is higher. Step number 4, standard rent under Rent Control Act. Given. Step number 5, ALB, whichever is lower. This is market rent. Now compare with actual rent again. Given. Conditions fulfilled, then received. Not fulfilled, then receivable. But once you finally decide actual, received or receivable, what do? You have your GAV, ladies and gentlemen. GAV is going to be what, sir? ALB or actual, whichever is higher. ALB or actual, whichever is, we have derived our GAV. GAV will never be any other amount in the calculation. It has to be 5 or 6, 5 or 6, 5 or 6. Between 5 and 6, whichever is. Sir, so have we derived the GAV, the heading that we have made here? So that way mind says, sir, GAV over. Now we will be doing our 7th step. Sir, we want GAV. We have GAV. But we will do one more. Sir, you need a break. Not as yet. I will need a break soon. Not as yet. This 7th step will, let me begin by telling you, this will never become GAV. Because GAV will be between 5 and 6. And between 5 and 6 also what? Whichever is. GAV will be between 5 and 6, 5 and 6, 5 and 6, 5 and 6, 5 and 6. Between 5 and 6 also whichever is higher. So 7th step will never become GAV. Then where am I doing it? This 7th step is being done only for something called comparison purpose. Only for comparison. Are we doing 5 or 6, whichever is higher? That is ALV or actual, whichever is higher. Correct? Hai? But sometimes there will be a problem here. And the problem is, I acquire a property. Understand the logic of this 7th step, which will never become GAV. And I have actually also told you the reason why I am doing it. Even if it will not become GAV, I need this amount for comparison. Sir, what comparison? For that you understand the logic, please. Nothing is bigger than logic. Please. Okay. I buy a property on 1st April and I am searching for tenant. I'm not getting any tenant. April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. 1st January, someone took my property on rent. So January I got rent, February I got rent, and March I got. Correct? Everyone is with me? My actual rent is only of 3 months and nothing is unrealized. So just imagine if there is no unrealized rent, how easy it becomes. Received, receivable, both same. NALB or actual, whichever is higher. And there is only one answer because nothing is there. So yes, I have received rent of Jan, Feb, March, 3 months. Actual rent is of 3 months. Everyone is with me? Now comes the problem. Municipal valuation happens once in a year. So municipal valuation will not be a 3-month amount, it will be annual rental value. So to compare with it, the broker ka fair rent we will take annual amount. We can't compare monthly amount with annual amount or per square feet amount with annual amount. So fair rent will also be 12 months ka amount. Expected rent will be 12 months ka amount. Standard rent also we will take 12 months. Which is why this market rent is always going to be, look at the name here. So one thing is for sure, that the amount that we get at step number 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is always going to be a 12-month amount. The name itself is annual. But now in our current example, my actual rent is only for 3 months. And when I take a 12-month figure from here and a 3-month figure from here and compare them and choose whichever is higher, I am a big dash. So we have female department in class plus we have minor child in class. Minor plus female. Unfortunately, I am not able to control myself. I want to speak that word. Can you go out for 2 minutes? No. Okay, do you mind if I say it? If we compare a 12-month figure with a 3-month figure and choose whichever is higher, we are number 1. Pagal. Pagal? But I like the way you thought. We can't be doing that. Just imagine, okay? You get 75% in CA inter exams. And you have a younger sibling who gets 95% in 10 standard board exams. And your younger sibling is coming and saying, 75, me 95, you 75. Bro, 75 in CA inter is all India rank 1 probably. And 95 in 10 standard will not bring you admission from anywhere. You can't compare. To compare two things, they have to be kept at the same level. No? You have brains. We are on which floor right now? Our lecture is being conducted on the 3rd floor. Fantastic. Go to the window. Okay? Go. Scream at someone on the ground floor. Like this. Hey. See, I am taller than you. See? Compare the height. Achha, do one thing. Okay? Bhakti, you stand on the bench. Okay? And your friend, Shruti, na? She will remain sitting in her place. And compare your heights. Who is taller? Bro, lol. To compare two people, two things, two amounts, they have to be kept at the same level. ALB is a 12-month ka figure. My right hand. Focus please. And actual rent is a 3-month ka figure. My left hand. You can't compare a 12-month ka figure with a 3-month ka figure. That is inappropriate. And here is where your 7th step will help. The 7th step, which won't become GAV. GAV will be one of them. But for comparison, for making them comparable, we will be doing 7th step. First, understand the logic. And now to make you understand this point number 7, I am going to do some dirty signs in front of you, some dirty gestures. Ganda ishara. I will be doing that for better knowledge purposes. And if knowledge is the main product, then everything is acceptable. This time I will not take permission. Shall I do some dirty things in front of you? Not as dirty as you are expecting. Someone like, ha sir. Sir, no. Dirty gestures. Sir, kaisa? Please understand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step number 5. ALB, my right hand. Everyone. ALB is annual letting value, an amount of 12 months. With this I have 6, step number 6, my left hand. So this is ALV, this is actual. ALV is step number 5, actual is step number 6. This is 12 months figure, this is, we can't compare them. This was the extent to which I was getting dirty. It won't be dirtier than this. Ye dirty nahi tha. So sorry to not meet your expectations. We'll plan something outside class. Class mein we can't be doing all this. Preferably Saturday. I am comfortable on Saturday. Saturday evenings are to become dirty. We can't compare these two amounts. You all understand which amount is what? This is ALV, this is actual. Option 1. If this is a 12-month figure, bring this down to a 3-month figure. So divide by 12 into 3 and then compare these two and choose either. That is one possibility. Option 2. Let ALV remain where it is. Take this. This is what? Actual. If this is a 3-month figure, then what will be the 12-month figure? Means option 1 is bring ALV down and option 2 is bring actual up. Step number 5. Everyone is with me? Step number 6. Can't compare. So step number 7 will help you. Option 1 bring ALV down or option 2 bring actual up. ICAI follows this. That means we will bring actual up and logic hai. This year you got tenant late. So ALV is 12 month, actual is 3 month. Next year this tenant will continue. So ALV will be 12 month. Actual will also be 12 month. Step 7 won't be required also. So larger part of your life it is going to be this only. Only for this year your actual is lower. So for that you can't change ALV. ALV will remain as it is. Bring actual here and make it comparable. That means my step number 7 is what? Take my answer at step number 6. What is my answer at step number 6? Actual. 6 is actual. No? And in that we add vacancy period rent, which in our example is 9 months. That will become my answer of step number 7. So this is 5. Everyone. This is 6. Oh. This is 5. This is 6. This is 7. Everyone is with me? 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7. Why are we doing this 7? To compare. Is 5 a 12-month figure? Is 7 also a 12-month figure? We will compare these two. They are comparable. But listen, this 7 will not become the answer. It is only done for comparison. Rule of GAB is whichever is higher. 5 or 6, whichever is higher is our general rule. But in our case, 5 and 6 cannot be compared. So what do we do? 7. Compare 5 and 7. But choose between 5 and 6. Answer is whichever is higher. If 5 is higher, compare what? 5 and 7. If 5 is higher, 5 is the answer. If 7 is higher, 7 can't become the answer. 6 will become my answer. I'll tell you the logic. What are we doing to our actual rent? We are in our actual rent adding up our vacancy period rent. 9-month rent. That means can I say we will get an amount which we can compare with ALV? So what we are going to do is compare 5 and 7. 5 is annual value. So now 7 is also an annual value. But you have to choose between 5 and 7 will never become GAV. 7 is being done only for comparison. If 5 is greater than 7, so whichever is higher, what's my answer? 5 will become GAV. If 7 is greater than or equal to 5, so 7 can't be the answer. 6 will be. So compare 5 and 7. Means listen, 5, 6, 7. Everyone is with me? 5, 6, 7. Compare 5 and 7. But choose between 5 and 6. If 5 is higher, 5 is the answer. But if 7 is higher, 6 is the answer. Now I will tell you the logic of this. See, this was the market rent. This was actual rent but can't be compared. So for comparison, I added vacancy rent and got my step number. Supposingly, after adding vacancy rent, also my ALB only is higher. That means I am purposely showing less rent. This year my ALB is 12 months, actual is less. Next year my ALB will be 12 months, actual will be full, but I am showing less actual. After adding vacancy also, it is lower only. That means I have made up my mind to cheat every year. Then I have to pay tax on ALB. So if ALB is higher, ALB is the answer. But supposingly 5, 6, I add vacancy and my 7 becomes higher. So what if I tell you my actual rent is higher than ALB? It is only looking lower because of 3 months, because of that vacancy. Next year, will I have full year actual rent? And my actual rent will be higher. And I will pay tax also on actual rent. So this year also I will pay tax on actual rent, but without the vacancy because I got rent only of 3 months. Or if we follow the whichever is higher wala rule, 5 is higher, 5 is the answer. 7 is higher, 7 can't be the answer. Then answer will be 6. So 7th ka amount is being done only and only for comparison purposes. And if I get tenant of full year, think about it. 0.7 is not applicable. 5 or 6, whichever is higher. Received or receivable, conditions fulfilled or not fulfilled. Just check that. But if there is vacancy, then actual rent plus vacancy rent will be compared with ALB. If ALB is higher, ALB is the answer. If actual plus vacancy is higher, actual without vacancy is the answer. You understood? I repeat. If ALB is higher, ALB is the answer. If actual plus vacancy is higher, then only actual without vacancy is the answer. Everyone understood? This, ladies and gentlemen, is your step number 7. Understood why we did one extra step even after completing GAV? Everyone? Okay. Listen, in this step number 7, one last line, after which step 7 over, biggest calculation of the chapter, that is GAV also over. Last. Vacancy period. What is the relevance of vacancy period? It is rent of this period that we are adding. In our example, I had tenant of 3 months. So I added vacancy period of 9 months. They have defined vacancy period. Vacancy period is that period for which property was vacant. वाह मोदी जी वाह वाह कितने तेजस्वी लोग वाह vacancy period means vacant. Wow bro, write it somewhere, it will come in UPSC exam. Sounds funny? That means you are not understanding what I am trying to say. The property has to be locked for that period. Only that much period will be considered as vacancy. The relevance, the significance, the importance, the impact is it possible that there is some SOP period during the year that won't be covered as vacancy because the property was not locked or vacant? I'll explain now. Supposingly April I am staying in the house. April, May, June I stay in the house. In July I shift somewhere. So July, August, September, October, November, December, 6 months my property was locked. And January I have tenant. So actual rent is 3 months. So ALB 12 months, actual rent 3 months. This is 5, this is 6. Can't compare. For comparison, what do we do? Add vacancy period rent of 6 months. 6 months only. Because 3 months I stayed. That is not vacancy. SOP period will not be considered as vacancy. What are we going to end up doing? 12 months, 3 months plus vacancy period only of 6 months. That means are we comparing now 9 month figure with 12 month figure? Looks unfair for the taxpayer. But bro, you stayed in the property and utilized benefits also, no? So let it be unfair only in this year. Next year your tenant is living. So both amounts will be annual. Only in the first year, let it be unfair. But SOP period will not be considered, counted, included in the definition of vacancy. Everyone understood? 100%. Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. That is your biggest calculation of the chapter. That is calculation of gross annual value. This requires more revision than any other calculation of the chapter. So, yes, I know it is your first time, but the maximum you are able to speak without looking into the notes. A very, very inappropriate and bad way of study is opening the book and reading the book again and again. It is not a novel. It is not a story. It's a law which you have to learn. The correct strategy, there is only one correct strategy of study. On a blank paper, how much are you able to write? Here, I'm not even telling you to write right now. Your self-study practice should be in writing. But right now, at least speak orally to the extent possible without looking. So you know where you are getting stuck. See, when we read the book, no, we don't know where we are getting stuck because book is saying everything. Only a blank paper will make us understand where we are getting stuck. So step number 1. Municipal valuation given. Second, fair rent given. Expected rent, standard rent given. The lower. So that's market rent. Now go and compare with actual rent. Again given. But received or receivable. Conditions fulfilled, then received. Not fulfilled, then. And finally we have our GAV. What is GAV? Actual, whichever is higher. But sometimes there will be vacancy. So actual will be of a lower period. No problem. What to do in that lower period amount? Add vacancy. But don't add SOP current. Only add lock period current. And you get your 7th step. Now compare ALV with this amount. If ALV is higher, ALV is answer. If actual plus vacancy is higher, then actual alone without vacancy will be my answer. Understood? That's your GAV. Massive time consumed. Now, sir, what? Sir, bus, whatever you say, sir, you are so good, sir. Now what? So all you have to do is in your mind save the picture of the pro forma. GAV, municipal taxes, NAV, standard deduction, interest deductions, final answer. So once GAV is over, we go to the next step. Next step, municipal taxes. Most of the explanation I already gave you. Is it an annual tax levied by local authority? If you don't pay this tax, you will not be allowed to occupy your property. No one will pay you rent, and expenditure incurred should be allowed as a deduction. So yes, we will give deduction, but only and only if it is paid. In the pro forma also I had highlighted this. Matlab, if municipal taxes are unpaid, you won't get any deduction. And second, you have to pay it by the landlord, by the owner. If your tenant is paying, that means you have not paid. You get deduction of expenses that you incur, not other people incur. Only and only if paid, only and only if you have paid. Do you understand? So if they are unpaid, no deduction. If tenant has paid, no deduction. If I have paid, owner has paid municipal tax of the current year, will I get deduction? Yes. If owner has paid municipal tax in advance for the next year. Okay, wait. Is it paid? And by the owner? Yes, you will get deduction irrespective of year of accrual. Good, I asked this question. Means what is the system? The system is cash basis deduction. 1 year I don't pay, no deduction. 2nd year I don't pay, no deduction. 3rd year I pay total. So 3rd year I'll get deduction of everything. In fact, 3rd year I have paid next 2 years also in advance. 5 years together. I'll get deduction of everything. Whatever is paid will be deducted. Paid will be deducted. You can simply say cash basis account. On payment basis, you will get deduction. We won't check year of accrual. This is not due basis. No, this is payment basis. So if you pay, you get deduction. If you pay, you get deduction. Understood? We won't check the year to which it belongs. We will simply say, 1, condition 1, is it paid? And 2, is it paid by the owner? Yes. Is that clear? That's your municipal taxes. The question will tell you paid or not paid. Paid to we take deduction. Owner or tenant, owner to we take deduction. And current year or future year or past year doesn't matter. If paid, you will get your deduction. Correct? But municipal tax is this much only. But of course, see, GAV we spend more than 1 hour. 7 points we did. If municipal taxes we do 1 point and we leave it, it will feel bad, no? Everyone has feelings. So we'll do 1 more point. This is CA, no, not your TY BCom exam. Which college? All of you together. So you never said when I asked you come from far away places. अच्छा. हे भगवान. हाँ. अच्छा. ठीक है. I thought you all are childhood friends. नहीं? You all met here first time in this class in CA Inter. हे भगवान. That means you all definitely shared some bad habit. Because such close friendship happens with bad habits only. You all are not childhood friends. ठीक है. So I assume that you all did graduation together. So I was going to ask a joint question. Okay, then I can't go into that. I assume that पूरा graduation you all have done together because all of you all are direct entry. So graduation के questions में, you know what they do? They give directly income from house property. You just have to write in the amount. हाँ, in BCom exam they ask like that only. They give you computed answer. You just have to write that amount in the amount column and take the total. But tax में, in intermediate level, they are going to confuse you. Sometimes they will give you this amount in percentage. Listen to this statement. Exam statement, question paper mein they have written. Municipal taxes 10% were paid by the owner. So paid owner. Are deduction ka condition fulfilled? But unfortunately, they have not given us the amount in rupees. They have given in percentage. 10%. So supposingly your GAB is 6 lakh rupees. How much is your GAB? 6 lakh. 6 lakh. Paid by the owner. Will we get deduction? Paid by the owner, will we get deduction? At 10%. And if GAB is 6 lakh, so how much will be our deduction? Rubbish! Nonsense! क्या? Stop फालतू comments. You should have said at that time. You won't be applying it on GAV. You will be applying it on municipal valuation. You understand this? Because municipal taxes are not a percentage of GAV. They are a percentage of municipal valuation. Bro, this municipal valuation is done only to levy property taxes. Is that clear? So if given in percentage, apply on municipal valuation. Everyone is clear? 100%. Fantastic. So 2 points on municipal taxes. Point number 1, only if paid by the owner, and if percentage, don't apply on GAV, apply on finished. Sir, now don't ask, sir, we wrote 7 points in GAV but only 2 in municipal taxes. It won't feel bad. It does not have feelings. No, it does not have feelings. Next step. Come on, without looking at the pro forma. Fantastic. NAV, net annual value. You have brains. Preserve them for later. It will be useful later. Right now, you don't need brain. You need calculator. NAV is nothing but, have you done GAV with 7 steps? Have you seen whether owner paid, those conditions are fulfilled irrespective of year of accrual? You must give deduction and you get your NAV. Finished. But for 1 point, it will feel bad. So 1 more point. If your property is SOP, where we can classify maximum 2 as we are aware, so we are not going to do any GAV. In SOP, is annual value 0? Sir, which annual value? Direct net annual value is 0. In SOP, what is the concept of SOP? Annual value nil. Annual value, sir, direct net annual value. So in SOP, we don't have to do municipal valuation, fair rent, standard and all. NAV equal to 0. NAV equal to 0. Do you understand this? In SOP, NAV directly will be taken as 0. Finish. You realize GAV took more than an hour. Municipal tax is done. NAV done. Next, standard deduction. When you do GAV and you subtract your municipal taxes, so what is the amount that you get on your calculator? Let it remain on your calculator. I hit here तो वो टैब का कनेक्शन पूछ. Let it, हाँ ये बस. Let it remain. Sorry, Abhishek. I will have to bring some drum or something because I can't. Without this, it is not possible. This is gypsum board, bro. This is if I hit this. Is there any lecture going on in the next classroom? You don't know? Chal, to we'll break the class and come. That's the only way. Hey, chalna yaar. Sorry, I won't hit you again. This is comfortable. This is comfortable. Abhi, I'll do this only. Arey, abhi chalna yaar, bro, please. Sorry, I won't hit you again. हाँ, आ गया. अरे sorry, no. Please, yaar. I'll have to take a pause. 1 second, please. Welcome back after the break. And from tomorrow, there is only one option. You guys have to make sure that she sits here. Okay? Standard deduction. Listen. Have you calculated GAV? Municipal tax subtracted. On your calculator, you have NAV. Let it remain on your calculator. Because on that amount only, what are you supposed to do? Flat 30% of your NAV. Flat 30% of your NAV is going to be what, sir? Standard deduction. Standard deduction will be flat 30% of it. Everyone is clear? Feelings, bro, feelings. No deduction for any other expense, because what is the whole logic behind your standard deduction? All your expenses, repair, maintenance, insurance, leakages, they are all taken care of and covered in the calculation of standard deduction. No deduction for anything except two things you will certainly get, which are given in the pro forma itself. One, municipal taxes, which we get above from GAV, which we have already completed, and second, interest, which is the last step in the calculation. No other deduction for anything else except two things, that is municipal taxes and interest. No other deduction. You understand? So standard deduction 30% assumes that for earning rent, you are going to incur 30% expense. Other than your annual property taxes and your interest. If you have taken a loan, 30% will take care of everything. Now, I can add some logic in your life. Did I tell you about the fight between putting rent in business or house property? See, business ka chapter is about maintaining records. So, we subtract actual expenses. But in house property, we don't keep records. We don't subtract actual expenses. We subtract a lump sum deduction of 30%. Whether I want to classify my rent under business or house property will depend on my expenses are more than 30 or less than 30. Please use your business brain here, not a student brain. If my expenses are more than 30, so I will like to call it PGBP and take all actual expenses, 40-50%, whatever I will. But if my expenses are less than 30%, then I will like house property. And generally rentals may you don't have more than 30% expense. You understand? So people always want to classify under house property and take 30%. But when Chennai properties incorporated as a company. So all that company ka cost, all the staff ka salary, their office ka rent, all the expenses, they of course cross 30% because it's a big organization. So they wanted to put their rent under PGBP. They won the case in Supreme Court, but now the law is changed that rent will always be classified under house property, and thus, sir, what difference it makes? You know, as a student, you have a question, sir, whether I call rent PGBP or house property. How does it matter? I have to pay tax. I have to pay tax under PGBP or house property. Don't you have the question, sir, what difference it makes? Sir, if I put it under PGBP, I subtract actual expenses. But if I put it under house property, I subtract standard deduction. So it will depend on my scale of expense where I will like to put it, which is why the fight. But if it is under house property, it will always be standard deduction, no deduction of actual expenses. Are you understanding this, everyone? With this, what if I tell you that there is only one thing which is left, that is interest on borrowed capital? And do you mentally observe the pro forma that after this it is over? Correct? Okay, we have had too much of. All right, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Devio, Sajjano and Mitro, let us go ahead. This therefore brings us to the concept of interest. Is interest a cost that we will incur for acquiring a property on borrowed money? And every expense we get deduction. Standard deduction covers everything, but it cannot cover interest, because interest can be small amount, big amount, depends on quantum of loan that we have taken. These days, banks are willing to finance 75% of your amount. Any property in excess of 1 crore rupees, banks give 75%. If it is under 1 crore, banks are ready to give 80% loan. So there will be massive interest. And on the other hand, there can be someone who has all the funds. I told you, 5 crore ka property still take 5 lakh ka loan. So interest is different from borrower to borrower. So we don't want to cover it under standard deduction. We could have always made standard deduction 40% and not given interest separately. Even easier law. But we don't want that, because interest fluctuates from borrower to borrower, and consequently interest ka deduction will be separate. If the property is acquired through borrowed funds, will there be interest? Yes. Is that an expense for earning your rent? So yes, ladies and gentlemen, we will give you deduction on, now observe this, on due basis, whether the interest is paid or the interest is unpaid. The deduction will be on due basis. So understand how typical the house property calculation is. Municipal taxes, they don't see accrual, they see only payment. Cash basis. And interest is accrual basis. We don't see whether paid or unpaid. For example, I take a 10 lakh amount of 10 lakh ka loan. Principal is 10 lakh, 10% per annum. 10 lakh, 10% per annum. 10 lakh, 10% per annum. What is my annual interest? 10 lakh, 10% per annum annual interest is how much? 1 lakh. Whether I pay or I don't, I will get deduction of, happy? I will get deduction of 1 lakh. Whether paid or unpaid, I will get deduction of 1 lakh. You understand? Municipal taxes only if I pay, but interest whether I pay or I don't. Only simple interest will be allowed. You will never get deduction of any compound interest. Only simple interest will be allowed. Compound interest, interest on unpaid interest not. For example, first year I don't pay any interest. Will I get deduction of 1 lakh? Yes. Second year bank is charging on 11 lakh. Because bank is charging interest on the unpaid interest. So what will be second year ka interest? 1 lakh and 10,000. Arey kya no? Interest will be 1 lakh 10,000. Deduction is allowed whether paid or unpaid. Of what amount in the second year? Still 1 lakh. Sir, why? Because simple interest. Original principal ka 10%, 1 lakh will be allowed whether paid or unpaid. But extra amount ka won't be allowed. Only simple interest whether paid or not. Ye clear hai? Next. If the interest is paid outside India or to a non-resident, then as a payer, it will be your duty to deduct something called TDS if there is a failure in this duty, so we will not give you any deduction. It will require a few minutes of explanation primarily on what is this thing called TDS. When one person makes payment to the other, that means, do you understand, payer is source of income for the pay? For example, employer paying salary to the employee, so employer is source of income. Coaching class paying professional fees of the professor, so class is the source of income. Think about it. Client paying professional fees to the chartered accountant, so client is source of income. Hello. Payer is source of income for the pay. Everyone agrees? Supposingly a CA is getting 1 lakh audit fees from the client. For client it is expense. For CA it is income. Should the CA pay tax on this 1 lakh? Of course, 1 lakh won't be his NTTI. This 1 lakh is one of the transactions done throughout the year. Like this 1 lakh, 100 other clients must have paid him. So total collection is 1 crore. From this 1 crore, he will also subtract all the expenses that he has incurred for running his office. Say 80 lakh rupees. That 20 lakh is also PGBP. The CA may be having other heads of income. We'll do GTI, NTTI, etc. everything. But in the total NTTI, is this 1 lakh a part of it? So out of all the transactions that I declare to the government, should I declare this 1 lakh to the government as income? If I receive 1 lakh from my client, should I declare that as income? Is my question. If people receive money in cash, is it possible that they don't declare that money? Evade taxes on cash receipts? Very easy, because no record. But that is, old generation. In modern days, people have become so smart. People receive money through bank, check, and they are not paying taxes. CA receives 1 lakh, journal entry, bank account debit to capital account. Did not write that income in P&L. Did not show that profit. Did not pay any tax. Cash receipts you don't declare is very normal. People are not declaring bank receipts. How to stop them? How to stop them? You will not get your full 1 lakh. The payer will deduct one small portion called TDS. Example 10%. 10% I take as an example because I have taken CA example. In CA ka payments, professional fees, TDS ka rate is 10%. So client was supposed to give you how much? 1 lakh. But client will give you only 90,000. So think about it as the client first. Client. Your audit fees payable to the CA is 1 lakh. But the law is telling you pay only 90. Yes! Cash discount. Cash discount? No. That 10,000, everyone focus please. That 10,000 that you have deducted, the client has to pay to the government. So can I say payer has to still pay 1 lakh? And now let's talk about the CA. He was supposed to get how much? 1 lakh. But in cash we are allowing him to receive only 90. Sir, where has the 10,000 gone? Government. Don't worry. You go to the government and tell the government to give you 10,000. They will give you that. So it is like 90 direct payment. Payer will directly pay the payee how much? 90,000. And what about that 10,000? Payer will pay the government and government will pay the pay. So are you still paying 1 lakh? So no difference to you. Are you still receiving 1 lakh? No difference to you. Of course, this government may not give in cash. They will wait for the year to get over. Is the pay supposed to show this 1 lakh as income? Like this 1 lakh all other incomes, calculate total income, calculate tax liability, whatever is the tax liability of the pay. That won't be on one transaction, that will be on entity. Supposingly tax is 50,000. So pay only 40 because 10 you have to receive. And is it possible that his total income is less than 2,50,000? So what is his tax liability? 0. Then you get this as a refund. So TDS money does not go anywhere. It will be adjusted against your tax liability. And if no tax liability, you will get it back as refund. So are you getting that 10,000? Think about it. His outflow remains 1 lakh and his inflow remains 1 lakh. As such, there is no difference that TDS is making. Then why do we have TDS? Everyone outside this classroom probably knows what is TDS. You don't know what is TDS because we have not done that chapter. But you will know why there is TDS even before we do the chapter. Is the payee going to get this 10,000 from the government? The payee has to go and tell the government, no, hey government, give my 10 please. Do you have to go and say, give my 10? Government will give you, no? End of the year, you will get your 10,000 back. Will the government give you 10,000? The government will ask, no, which 10,000? Which 10,000? Sir, on that 1 lakh, 10,000 got deducted. Acha, which 1 lakh? Sir, which I got from this client. Oh, have you shown that 1 lakh in your income? Yes, sir. See, I have shown that 1 lakh. Fantastic. Take your money. To get your TDS credit, you have to report the transaction. That is why we have TDS. Your income or expense is not getting affected because of TDS. But this will facilitate data collection for the government. A small portion of your receipt will be withheld by the payer. And end of the year, government will give it back to you. But only if you declare the receipt. So supposingly I get full 1 lakh without TDS. I will not declare it. Every officer cannot come and check every individual entry in my passbook. But if I have TDS on that transaction, then to get the TDS money back, I have to declare. You understand? TDS therefore is a part of our income tax law for declaration of transactions. Lot of people in CA final also don't know this. Lot of people in CA final don't know. When we are saying no neighboring buildings and other students etc., I am not comparing you with CA inter students. There are so many things. If you have a CA final student who is your friend, do you have any CA final student who is your friend? No? No problem. Once you go to articleship now, you will get some of them. Hey, final ka student. Where? A final. If ho gaya, then how final student? You are high on some stuff. Final student, uska ho gaya, so how the person is a student? So go and find out whether your ho gaya wala friend knows what is TDS. Answer is yes. Knows why TDS. Sir, his expense and his income is still 1 lakh. Then why this nonsense? Pay to the government, then take it from the government. Government is acting as an agent here. In order to get this 10,000 from the government, you have to first declare your 1 lakh. And thus we have TDS. TDS ka rates range from 1% to 30%. Professional fees mein it is 10%, so I took 10% as an example. There is some payment in which TDS ka rate is 1%, 2%, 5%, 10%, 15%, 20%. If you have got winning from lottery, etc., there is TDS rate of 30%. Range is very big. But whatever be the tax deducted, year end, you will get it back from the government against credit against your tax liability. And if there is no liability, yes, you heard it right, you will get your refund. Now for resident, we can deduct a nominal percentage of TDS. If his tax liability is less than 10,000, so we will give him refund. If his tax liability is more than 10, supposingly his tax liability is coming to 50, tax liability will be on entity, I know, not individual transaction. If tax is 50, so what do we do? Minus 10 and make him pay 40. So for resident, the TDS can be higher or lower, does not make any difference. If the TDS is less, we make him pay. And if the TDS is more, we give him refund. Resident mein, there is never a problem. Problem comes when the payee is non-resident. Think about it. If you make payment to non-resident, the income, if it is in India, then the non-resident will have to pay tax. Indian income. But if you make payment to the non-resident, that non-resident will receive money and run away. We can't run behind the non-resident for recovery of taxes. And therefore, for non-residents in our country, in income tax law, there is a clear rule for non-residents in our country. For a non-resident, the tax liability of the non-resident in India equal to the TDS that the payer has to deduct. Tax equal to TDS, TDS equal to tax. See, for residents, we have various rates 1, 2, 5, 10, 20. But non-resident ke liye there is no TDS. Correct. Supposingly, I am paying interest to a non-resident. Is that income arising in India? What is your tax on this interest? We will apply the tax rate, etc. Find out your liability, surcharge, cess, everything. I have to deduct exact that amount and pay it to the government. If I deduct more TDS, poor girl, this non-resident can't be staying here for refund. No? You have to go back your country. And if I deduct less, then government will not be able to recover. So deducting more is also not required and less is also not allowed. You have to deduct tax equal to TDS, TDS equal to tax. Whenever you make payment to a non-resident, very big lesson again. Very big lesson. You are buying any property from NRI, you have to deduct TDS. Sir, from resident, if we buy property, no, we have to deduct only 1%. That also if the property is 50 lakh rupees or more. But if we buy property from a non-resident, we have to deduct his full tax liability from the payment that we have made. I am, for example, paying rent to NRI, 1,50,000 per month. I am deducting 30% tax because it is more than 10 lakh plus 4% cess, 31.2% from the payment that I am making. 31.2%. Some 46,800 every month. Is that his loss? No. I paid to the government and he will get it from the government. If I deduct, so 46,800 is the liability. If I deduct 50,000, does not make sense because he cannot come here for his refund. And if I deduct only 40,000, so still does not make sense because how will the government recover the remaining 6,800? So tax equal to TDS, TDS equal to tax. Not just for rent or purchase of property, every transaction including interest. Now if you read the fourth point again, you will understand what the point is trying to tell you. If you are making payment of interest to anybody outside India, if you are making payment of interest to a non-resident, then do what, bro? Deduct TDS. Then do what? Deduct. ये correct है? How much TDS? Exactly equal to the tax liability. And if you don't deduct, think about it from the payer point of view. Whose tax it is? Payee ka tax. Sir, I have got nothing to do with it. I will pay full 1 lakh to him. Your problem, no, recovery of taxes from this person is your problem. Government says, bro, it is his income and your expense. You want deduction of expense? Then you better deduct TDS. If you don't deduct TDS, we won't give you deduction of the interest that you have paid. That means in income tax language, we call it the deduction will be disallowed. You will not get deduction of the interest that you are paying to a non-resident. If you have failed to what? If you have failed to deduct TDS, then you will not get deduction of the interest. So whenever you make payment to a non-resident, deduct TDS, otherwise you will not get deduction of interest. So whenever we acquire property through borrowed funds, there is going to be interest. Deduction will be allowed on due basis, whether the interest is paid or unpaid. Only simple interest, compound interest will not be allowed. If payment to non-resident, then deduct TDS. Next, point 5 is a very, very important point for knowledge. Exam mein to everything is important. For knowledge point of view, this is very, very important. That purpose of loan. Are you taking a loan for acquiring property? The loan ka money should be used where? With that money, you should purchase a property. Then we call it a home loan. Or it is also possible that you construct a property, you buy land and on that you build your own property. That is also possible. So purchasing is allowed, construction is allowed, repair, internal, external, as the case may be, renewal, renovation of property. Again, that can be internal or external. And something called Reconstruction. Reconstruction means you buy an existing property, you demolish the entire building and build a new building. Again, reconstruction. For example, in Mumbai, there is a place called Carter Road in Bandra. On Carter Road, which is a sea-facing road, there used to be a bungalow called Ashirwad Bungalow, owned by Bollywood legendary superstar Mr. Rajesh Khanna, father-in-law of Bollywood superstar Akshay Kumar. In the decade of 60s, India had only one superstar. You know, the first Bollywood superstar. Of course, we all know Last of the Stars. Last superstar? Last of the Stars. Shah Rukh Khan. Bro, last few years, for so many years, I did not like Shah Rukh Khan at all. But of late, I am getting younger and younger day by day. So I suddenly have started liking Shah Rukh Khan. There was a time when he was the only ruling superstar. For so many years, he was the only star. So there used to be this Ashirwad bungalow owned by Rajesh Khanna sir, whom he sold to a big industrialist of Mumbai Bandra area only. That industrialist did what? He purchased the bungalow, but he demolished the entire bungalow, and in that place he made his own new bungalow on that new fresh land. You can take a loan for that also. Are you taking loan to acquire property? Use that money for construction, repair, renewal. Only these 5 purposes, ladies and gentlemen. No sixth purpose will be allowed. The loan money should not be used for any other purpose. Loan money has to be used for one of these 5 purposes. No sixth purpose will be allowed. Loan money has to be used for one of these purposes. No sixth purpose will be allowed. Do you understand? Sir, so supposingly I take a bank loan to purchase a property, construct a property, reconstruct a property, will I get deduction? Yes, but if I take a personal loan, a business loan, etc., I will not get deduction. Do you understand? Okay. For example, my friend here, Karan, he really likes someone. What gender? No, just asking. So he's that way, educated, good looking, all good qualities. So one day she takes him to meet her father. Father is not asking his education. Father is not asking. Karan talks to her father in code language. Uncle, can I call you daddy? You understand the code language here? Uncle has one condition. Uncle has one question. Karan, I like everything about you. You are well educated. So I'm not talking about today. Because, see, when you first, acquire the skills in yourself that you have the ability to approach. Bro, before you reach that stage, you won't be able to reach up to the father. She will only say no. So first you make yourself capable. We'll keep separate motivational sessions for that. Also, how that happens, you need more guidance on that. Sir, this we will manage. We are good at studies. This we will manage. That is more important. Sir, how to convince? Oh, I am an expert, bro. Unfortunately, I get paid only for teaching tax. So I have to control myself. Otherwise, believe me, you have a lot to learn from me other than tax also. If only I was getting paid for all that. Of course. So, uncle is asking Karan, I like everything about you. In terms of your education, in terms of your behavior, in terms of your background, everything. But Karan, do you have your own house? Because if I have to give you my daughter, you should be having your own house. I don't want my daughter to struggle that every year you have to search for new rental property and then keep on shifting. And I don't want her to face this hassle, which as the father of a daughter, it is very much normal and acceptable. He has given a certain degree of upbringing. If not better, at least that much, so he will expect also. Karan says, uncle, I don't have any property right now. But don't worry, uncle, I have lots and lots of money. I am a qualified chartered accountant. So I am talking about that period. I have enough money. Uncle, you tell me, when should I buy the property? If I buy the property, is your answer yes? Uncle is like, yes. I like everything about you. but you should have your own house. Okay. Done, uncle. Done. I have plenty of money. He has actually too much of money. He goes and purchases his own property with his own money. But this is Mumbai city, bro. Once you purchase property, no, believe me, you are, and believe me, last few months, like have been real cash crunch, which I have not seen in the last decade. If you see my bank balance 1.5 years ago, you'd be like really jealous of that bank balance. Bro, how can someone maintain so much balance in a saving account? But since these property acquisitions, bro, believe me, the post property acquisition is worse than post delivery depression. Because that you can recover with family support. Here you need financial support. Every 10th banks का system है, 10th of the month is the EMI date. तो house का EMI, office का EMI, tenant may or may not pay rent on time. He may be a few days late. I can't be forcing him that no, right now only you have to pay. It's a big pain to manage cash flow, but matter of time because only a few months, some more months, some more batches, the collection certainly is more than the expenses. So there will be quite a bit of liquidity and cash flow remaining that there will be no issue for few more months. So keep working, keep accumulating. So current qualified chartered accountant, bank balance is flooded, immediately goes and purchases, but now bank balance is empty. Property acquisition means you have to empty your existing balance plus convert it into negative by taking loans. But current did not have to take loan, at least that much money he had. So he has acquired property. But money over. Now he wants to get married. Uncle is also saying yes. But you need money for marriage expenses. For marriage expenses, he took a loan. You understand? Because own funds are over in purchase of property. So for marriage ka expense, he has taken a loan. Will he get deduction? Arre? This was also ghar basane ka loan. For settling in life, no? Bro, the law says you will get deduction on ghar banane ka loan, not basane ka loan. Too deep, no? Purchase, construction, repair, renewal, reconstruction. Marriage is none of them. So no deduction. Karan, do I give you a tax advice free of cost? I normally don't give tax advice free of cost. No matter how much you try to extract it out of me. Sir, if this I do in my family business, will I be able to save tax? Confirm with your family business ka CA once. No, he will be in a better position to give you an idea. You want my opinion? UPI QR code. And family tax advice, tax planning is not covered in the admission. Otherwise, you'll start telling me, sir, my family got this tax notice. Can you draft a report? Of course, I can draft a report. Of course, I will charge less. You know me so well by now. हाँ तो current free tax advice I'm giving. The funds which you had, use them for marriage, and for purchase of house, take the loan. That will be tax beneficial. Plus, home loan interest rates are lower than marriage is personal loan. Personal loan interest rate can go as high as 16% per annum. You understand? So, use borrowed funds for acquisition of property to get tax benefit. Understood? Now come out of that zone, bro, because to reach that level, you have to first make yourself rich. Reach a certain level. And rich in terms of financial wealth is not the only benchmark of being called rich. You need to have a personality. You need to know how to talk to people. You need overall development. And as I said, you need to learn a lot from me. I get paid only for tax. Okay. So in case you are up for it, we announce a separate batch. Evening 8 to 10. It can't be offline because 10 o'clock is too late. So maybe a Zoom batch. of other things in life. And one more thing, we call it adult batch. So you see, in that, whenever I have to say some word in class, I say dash. That batch will be uncensored. So the words will be actually spoken in class. But take admission before, viewer discretion is recommended. Take admission only if you are comfortable. And knowing today's generation. Sir, I mean, sir, how much? Sir, when are we starting? You may not be as excited for, sir, so many days ka gap we had for resuming our tax ka syllabus because your law ka studies were going on. You are not excited that tax is starting again, but you'll certainly be excited, sir, adult wala batch. I want to join, sir. Sir, I am from Dongri. Sir, teach me the skills. Understood the tax advice here? See, usually I may not give free tax planning advice in class. But some demo though you have to give, no, I have to generate some revenue for my practicing firm also. Ultimately, somebody from you will be dissatisfied with the services that your CA is providing to your family. And you may probably be looking for a handsome change. You can take my visiting card after class. Just taking visiting card also is not eligible for free advice. And then you have to become the client with all the files. Still, free advice is separately chargeable. I'll charge less than what I charge others. That is my commitment. Obviously, or I'll charge less than what others charge you. Fair enough. Fair. हाँ तो फिर ठीक है. Enroll कर. You want QR code? चेक देखा ब्रो वो बाउंस हो. Don't issue a check. नहीं I don't accept checks. नहीं मतलब I am not asking for cash. UPI. That happens with mobile number. Or you want to do NEFT RTGS, I'll give you bank details. And first time advice ka fee is so less that UPI maybe it will happen. With your current bank balance also. It is so reasonable, bro. At least start. Chal, yeah. No sixth purpose will be allowed. Everyone is clear on this. The end usage of loan money has to be one of these 5 purposes. So marriage loan is not called creating your home. You have to purchase your house or construct your house with that money. Is that clear? Fantastic. Next, take this as a question. Interest on a loan which is taken to repay another eligible loan will be, you have to tell me allowed or disallowed. 2 options only I am giving. Question explain. You want explanation of the question? I'll explain. Look, I take a loan. All the conditions are fulfilled. Means simple interest, due basis, purchase, construction, repair, renewal, reconstruction. One of the 5 purposes, not a 6th purpose. If payment outside India, I have deducted TDS. I have fulfilled all the above conditions. Is that clear? Am I getting deduction on this loan? Yes. Now what do? I take another loan, second loan, and repay my first loan. So is the first loan clear? And now my interest will be payable on the second loan. Will I get deduction of interest on the second loan? See, first loan was allowed, not even being discussed. It was an eligible loan. Will the second loan be considered as eligible loan? Now you understand the question. Will I get deduction on the second loan? First loan I am not asking. First was eligible. I am talking about the second. Will I get deduction? No. Why? Come on, try. What purpose? So your answer is no. Why?
Second loan is for to pay first loan, not for
Go ahead. Not for what?
to buy property.
Purchase, construct, repair, renew. This case went in Supreme Court in the 70s. If a case is going to the Supreme Court, that means both the assessee as well as assessing officer have some argument. Officer is to giving the same argument which you gave. Sir, is this second loan used for purchase? First sale. Yes or no? No. Repair, renewal, reconstruction, construction? No. The second loan is used to repay first loan, which is not covered in the 5 purposes. Therefore, the answer will be disallowed. Whose argument? Assessing officer. But the other party will also give you have to give your opinion, no? Assessee is saying, sir, with the second loan, have I used it for any sixth purpose? Have I brought it home and done a shower of money on myself? Have I done that? Have I spread that second loan ka money on my bed and like playing with that? Am I doing that with the second loan ka money? No, I am only repaying my first loan. Basically, I was earlier paying interest to A. Now I am paying interest to B. I have changed my pay. I didn't have money. So I took loan from A. I fulfilled all conditions. I was getting deduction. A wanted money back. So I took loan from B and paid money back to A. Now I am paying interest to B. You have to imagine that B ka money I have used to acquire my house. Because B paid A and A paid for the house. I have only changed my pay, but I have not brought the money home and I used it for my any personal purpose like marriage or etc. So you should be allowing me the deduction. Do you understand the argument of the SSC? So earlier all those who were saying disallowed, sir, not one of the 5 purposes. SSC ka argument is still it is not a 6th purpose also. Do you realize, agree and understand? Hello. And Supreme Court ka judgment, which was in the 70s. You were there? No. It is likely that some of your parents were also not there. Early 70s. Nahin na? So today you don't learn it as a court case. So many decades now it is an acceptable part of the law. Supreme Court said this interest will be allowed. Because if we don't allow this interest, please understand, whenever we want to change our bank, many a times there are people who want to change their bank. Bank A is supposedly charging interest at 8.25%, 8.3%. Bank B is willing to offer a switch at 7.5%. And banking business mein, they do it. Starting mein, no bank will give you loan. Listen to this. Finally, one of the bank gets convinced that, okay, I will give you a loan. Other banks observe. They get database of each other. Huge data mining going on. Every app that you download in your phone is collecting data. So the second bank finds out that you are paying EMIs on time. Now the second bank will send its staff with an offer. Lower interest rate will simply mean lower EMIs. You understand? Second bank gave you that offer. Sometimes when you want to withdraw from the first bank, no, the first bank will ask you reason. And now they will also match. Normally, they won't reduce their EMIs, but for matching, otherwise they'll lose you forever. But there are some people who switch their banks. If this is disallowed, then switching of banks won't be allowed only, or won't be possible only. Do we shift our loans from one bank to the other? Quite often, yes, and therefore that has to be allowed. If the first loan was eligible, the second loan will also be considered as eligible. Everyone is clear. And last point under interest, with which interest is over, bro. Full pro forma is over. Only 4-5 points to be noted, and that's the completion of your chapter income from house property. Hello. I hope you are understanding what is happening. So fantastic, ladies and gentlemen. If your property is LOP or DLOP, In LOP, are you paying tax?
Yes.
In DLOP, you are paying tax without earning. And now that you know GAV, see if this makes sense to you. In DLOP, ALB only will become GAV. Think about it. Let that sink in. Digest this, please. Do you agree? Here it is ALB or actual. But here there is no actual. ALB is only GAV. Matlab, my question is in LOP, DLOP, are you offering taxable income? Paying some tax? Then unlimited interest will be allowed. In LOP, DLOP, unlimited interest will be allowed. Show me your hand. Show me your hand. I want you to raise your hands. Now raise them straight up. And now ask yourself, why didn't you put 100% effort in the first time? But this is the reason behind success and failure in CA exams. Sometimes people don't give their 100% in the first try. When I asked straight up, you were able to extend it further, no? You should have done it in the first time itself. Now insert this hand in your pocket. Insert your hand in your pocket. And check your interest paying capacity. You pay 2 lakh interest, 20 lakh interest, 2 crore interest or 20 crore interest. Whatever is the interest, subject to all these conditions. Simple interest, due basis, outside India TDS, one of the 5 purposes. Whatever is the interest will be fully allowed. No limit. Unlimited interest will be allowed. Why, sir? Because you are ready to pay tax. But think about SOP. In SOP, are you paying any tax? Just imagine what will be SOP ka format. NAV is going to be directly nil. From NAV, there will be deduction. First is standard, which is 30% of. Check your calculator. Check on your calculator how much it is coming to. 0. Very good. 30% of 0 is 0. There will be only one deduction, that is interest. Do you realize with standard deduction being 0, the total deduction will be same as interest? And with NAV being 0, the final answer here is going to be always a loss. And this loss is exactly equal to the interest deduction that you have taken. Listen to this carefully. It is simple maths. That if we take any deduction of interest in SOP, in the entire calculation, everything else is 0. So the interest subtracted is the loss. What will I do with this loss? I will adjust against other income. That means this interest deduction becomes a loss and reduces my other taxable income. Are we misusing SOP to a big extent? Not paying tax at all and still taking tax benefit. Do you realize this? Still government is allowing. Everyone has to agree that LOP ka interest is for earning income. So we will give you deduction. That also without any limit. But in SOP, it's a personal expense. You're not generating any income. You're not showing any income. Still government believes in housing for all. Everyone should take loans and buy houses. Don't sleep on footpath film stars and their drivers will kill you. So government genuinely wants to encourage you to take home loans and will give you tax benefit of that home loan. And therefore, I'll be giving you deduction in SOP. But you can't be taking too much of benefit, and therefore in SOP, there is going to be a limit. That SOP ka interest will be maximum rupees 30,000. Maximum deduction will be 30,000. Or may I put it this way? Maximum 30 means what? 30,000 is not the deduction. Actual or 30,000, whichever is lower is the deduction. Do you understand this? If my interest is 25, I'll get deduction of 25. Interest is 45, I'll get deduction of 45. Only 30. Interest is 45 and it is LOP, DLOP, 45. So, whatever is the actual interest based on these conditions, in LOP, DLOP, I'll subtract fully. But in SOP, I'll restrict it to a maximum of 30,000. So LOP actual interest, but DLOP also actual interest, but SOP actual interest or 30,000, whichever is lower. You understood the logic also? Because in SOP you are just making it a loss. So there is a limit, and the limit is 30,000. However, we will change it to maximum of 2 lakh. 30 limit will change to limit of 2 lakh. That means, can I say in these cases the calculation will be, you tell me, actual or 2 lakh, whichever is lower. Is this a benefit that we are getting? Think about it. When, let's talk only about SOP, because LOP, whether 2 lakh, 20 lakh, I told you, check your pocket. 2 lakh, 20 lakh, 2 crore, 20 crore. We get full deduction, no limit. Only keep SOP in your focus. Is there a limit? Yes. You understand the logic of the limit also, because you are not showing any income. Is there a limit? Yes. Logic of the limit? Yes. What is the limit? 30,000. So if my interest is 45, I get deduction only of 30. But if my limit changes to 2 lakh, I will get full 45. If limit is 2 lakh, then I will get full 45. Do you agree and understand? Yes. Are you happy if the limit is enhanced from 30,000 to 45,000? Sorry. Limit is enhanced, my bad. Sorry. Limit won't be 45. Limit will be enhanced from 30,000 to 2 lakh. Deduction will of course become 45. Supposingly my interest is 3 lakh. In 30,000 limit, I'll get only 30,000 deduction. But in 2 lakh limit, I'll get 2 lakh deduction. Are you happy? But this extra limit will be given to you only if you fulfill 3 conditions. That means if 3 conditions are fulfilled, so actual or 2 lakh, whichever is low. If any of the conditions dissatisfied, so actual or 30,000, whichever is lower. For SOP. For LOP, DLOP, unlimited. Actual is the answer. There is no limit. Condition 1. The loan should be taken for purchase or construction. Then only you will get 2 lakh limit. If the loan is taken for repair, 30,000 limit. If the loan is taken, see, these conditions are for 2 lakh limit. If we don't fulfill, we get 30,000 limit. So if the loan is taken for purchase construction, 2 lakh will be the limit. Only in SOP, huh? If it is for repair, 30,000. Renewal, 30,000. Reconstruction, 30,000. Purchase of furniture, rubbish! 2 lakh? No. No deduction, only 5 purpose is allowed. So 2 will come in 2 lakh limit, 3 will come in 30,000 limit. No 6th purpose will be allowed. Hello. Understood? So loan should be taken for purchase or construction. Loan should be taken on or after 1st April 1999. Loan should be taken on or after 1st April 1999. You were there? 1999, anybody here was there? I doubt, because 1999 is 26 years ago. If you were there at that time, then you should have become a qualified CA by now. No one was there? I was there. I must be how much? Huh? क्यों wild guesses कर रहा है? Leave no. How much ever it was. How does it matter? Before 1999, the limit used to be 30,000. In the 1999 budget, there was an amendment as per which they said, from now, any new loan taken for purchase or construction, we are increasing the limit. But did you mark the amendment here? Any new loan taken, limit will be 2 lakh. This changed 26 years ago. So today, 30,000 ka any relevance? If I have taken a 30-year home loan in 95-96, and I am still paying it, तो 30,000 का लिमिट will apply. On new loans, limit changed, but for existing loans, limit will be 30,000 only. So any loan taken before this date, 30,000. Any loan taken after this date for repair, renewal, reconstruction, 30,000. Cumulative conditions. So purchase or construction on or after 1st April 1999, and construction should be completed within a period of 5 years. How many years we are giving you to complete construction? But where will we count this from? From end of the financial year, not the date, but from end of the year of taking the loan. So supposingly I take a loan today, 14 January 2025. Happy Makar Sankranti. In Maharashtra we have a saying, Ted god gaya, god god. So learn first. You have to talk to people sweetly. Today if I take a home loan, and by the way, Makar Sankranti marks commencement of auspicious Muhurat again. From December 15 to January 13, it is considered as inauspicious period for anything. Bro, we started on 17th. It was so inauspicious that first FM did not let me start, then Lord did not let me start. I fear for my life that supposingly I take 1 day break for any emergency situation and your audit syllabus starts. Bro, now September attempt. I will also have September attempt. So listen, end of the year is 31st March plus 5 years. 31st March 30. Complete your construction by that time. I give you one advice. Take the loan in first week of April. April first week. Take the loan in April first week. So you get that full financial year plus 5 years. You almost get 6 years. 6 years good enough to complete construction. So they want to allow 5 years, but they have given from year end. If you take on 31st March, you will get only 5 years. But if you take on 1st April, you will get 6 years. That year plus 5 years. That year plus 5 years. Good enough period to complete construction? So ladies and gentlemen, true or false? If construction of a property is not completed within 5 years from the year end, it's a crime. You will go to jail. No, it's not a crime. Obviously, we won't go to jail. What will happen? Interest का deduction नहीं मिलेगा. Wrong answer. Limit will be 30,000. That also SOP. LOP, DLOP का this condition is not relevant only. Where is the limit? Only under SOP. So let's be clear. If the property is LOP, DLOP, actual interest based on all the above conditions. If the property is SOP, then actual or 30 or 2 lakh, check these conditions. Purchase or construction on or after 1/4/1999 and completed within 5 years, then actual or 2 lakh, whichever is higher. And if any of the condition dissatisfied, then actual or 30,000 higher. Bola na. I was checking if you are paying attention. If condition not fulfilled, actual or 30,000, whichever is lower. If condition fulfilled, then actual or 2 lakh, whichever is lower. Clear hai everyone? So then, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Deviyo Sajjano Mitro, that's your interest deduction. Interest will come on borrowed capital. On due basis. Simple interest. Outside India, then TDS. Very important 5 purposes, no 6 purpose allowed. But change in pay, change in bank will be allowed. And LOP, DLOP unlimited, SOP limited. Actual or 30 or actual or 2 lakh. But for 2 lakh limit, we have 3 conditions. Everyone is clear? Alright. So that way, believe me, calculation part of house property is over. Because you go and check the format. Format may we are GAV, municipal taxes, NAV, standard deduction and interest. Have we finished that entire format? But certain concluding points to be noted with which we can say that we are done with our chapter income from house property. You can do the numbering from 1 also, or you can continue from the original introduction. We had points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Does not make any difference. That was introduction and this is conclusion of house property. Supposingly there is a property. which is self-occupied for part of a year and let out for another part. Means 6 months you stay and 6 months you give on rent. That means, can I say we will have to do half GAB, half 6 months we will apply NAB equal to nil, and remaining 6 months we will apply LOP. So, bro, one day also if you give on rent, I have already taught you, it will be LOP. One day also you give on rent, it will be considered as LOP. Correct hai? Everyone, do not make the mistake again. Next, some properties have something called divisible units, identifiable units, the example of which can be a duplex or a jodi flat. Is it possible that you have two houses next to each other, or two houses one above the other? One above the other in property market is called duplex. Next to each other is called jodi. Actually, they are two different units. Just that you can demolish the internal wall and make them one also. Is it possible that I keep the wall, one part of it I stay with my family? That means I am using this part for my residence, and other part of it I give on rent. Is it possible? Is it possible here I stay, here I give on rent? So you have to consider them. Somebody was asking this question yesterday. Joel was asking, sir, what if one portion of my house I stay, another portion I have given on rent? This is known as a divisible property. So this portion of the property will be treated as SOP, and this portion of the property will be treated as LOP. This portion will be treated as SOP, this portion will be treated as LOP. You have to identify them as separate properties. Here is where knowledge of unit comes into picture. That while the structure is one, they are different units in the same structure. So you can identify them as separate properties. Whichever portion you are giving on rent, that portion you will consider as let out property, as a separate property, and whichever portion you are living, that person will be considered as self-occupied property. If the entire building has one municipal valuation, then of course you will have to do LOP part ka municipal valuation proportion. It is possible that you have one bungalow of two parts, part 1 and part 2, equally identifiable. It can be ground plus 1, possible separate entry. So first floor you have given to someone else. The municipal valuation is of the entire property. Fair rent is of the entire property. But are we identifying separate units as SOP and LOP? So you can do SOP part as nil and LOP part as proportionate municipal valuation fair rent. Whenever a property can be broken into separately identifiable units, then you will apply individual rule on individual property. Of course, we know what is the rule for LOP. We have to show income. SOP NAV is nil and limited interest deduction. Identify them as two separate properties. Ye clear hai? Next, sometimes is it possible that there are co-owners of a property? Is it possible that A and B jointly own a property? Now problem is that municipal valuation is not of A or B, it is of the property. Fair rent, standard rent is of the property, actual rent is of the property. So do one thing, ignore this part, keep the property in mind. Hey, you don't cancel like this in your book, huh? Because Jadu, Jadu. So you don't do it that way. It won't happen in your notebook. Try matlab. Ignore the joint ownership and focus on property. Calculate GAV of the property, because annual value is of property, not of A and B. Human beings ka there is no annual value. Like, what is the annual value in which you can rent out human being A or human being? No. Subtract municipal taxes paid by any of the owners of the property. What will you get? NAV of the property. Then we'll do standard deduction and interest deduction on the property. Will we get our income from house property? And this final answer, you divide between A and B in the ratio of ownership. See, ratio of ownership will not be same always. At the time of acquiring the property, if they give 50-50 money, then they are equal owners. But is it possible A gave 80% money, B gave only 20%? So their right in the property is 80-20. This property generates any income, whether rent or sale price. 80% will go to A and 20% will go to B. In what ratio you contributed is the ratio in which you will get returns. If given, you use that percentage. And if not given, we have all done partnership accounts in our life. Whenever it is not given, we will take equal. But we will take in the ratio of ownership the final answer. So we won't be taking individual figures in any ratio. We will be taking the final answer. Co-owners ka concept is clear to everyone? Fantastic. Fourth concept. If there is any recovery of unrealized rent. You know what is unrealized rent? Bad debts when the tenant has not paid me. So what is recovery of unrealized rent? You can simply call it BDR. That is bad debts recovered. You know the concept of bad debts recovered? So what has happened this time? Recovery of unrealized rent. Let me explain. Some years ago, you were using my property. There was some part of the rent which you did not pay. Is that my unrealized rent? Now you are ready to pay that rent. You only approach me and say that, sir, sorry, I did not pay your rent at that time. But now my times have changed. I have some money. I have worked hard in the last few years. I want to clear your dues. So what will I tell you? Keep the change, bro. I appreciate your honesty. Keep it, bro. No? Will I take it? For me, it becomes, bro, I am Marwadi. I don't know whether you understand this statement, but see if you do. For our Marwadi community, I will ask for interest. You are giving me rent, I will ask for interest, because for us, interest is not IFOS, it is PGBP. This is a very, very deep statement. Huh? Any person belonging to my community does not like his principal as much as loves the interest. They like interest more than the principal. My mother likes my son more than me. This was really deep. You may or may not understand. Stay back after class. Interest more than principal, bro. Same policy. So, bro, will you take it? That is bad debts recovered, or in this chapter ka language, we call it recovery of unrealized rent. And similarly, you can also recover something called arrears of rent. Sir, unrealized rent ka recovery you understood? What do you mean by recovery of arrears of rent? Supposingly, I was using your property some years ago. I have paid you every amount of rent as per contract. Not a single penny unpaid, unrealized or bad. As per contract, whatever was payable, everything is peacefully paid. Am I honest? Fantastic. One day I vacate your property. Rented properties, one day you have to vacate. I hand over peaceful possession. You give me my deposit money back. I am busy in my life. You are busy in your life. We are still cordial with each other. Now, one day suddenly I meet you somewhere after that. And of course, we meet each other by hi, hello, greetings, etc. And I must tell you one thing. Your property, which I used some years ago, it was a really, really very lucky property. When I was using your property, the Vastu was really good. I earned name in your property. I earned fame, money. I progressed in your property. When I was using your property, at that time I got engaged, I got married, I got such an extremely rich father-in-law. Everything happened in your property. Whatever progress has happened from profession to extremely rich father-in-law, It happened in your property. See, how is a rich father-in-law beneficial? You don't want anything from him. Bro, every time he gives me something, I simply refuse. Again, here also that Marwadi community ka custom comes into picture. Every time I go to my in-laws place, when I am coming back, he will give me one envelope filled with cash. Put a tika on me. And when he is giving it, no. Arey, I came here to meet you. He's like, take it. No. Take it. Take it, I'm like your father. He'll feel bad. You can't say that. And every time he says, I'm like your father, sometimes I feel, time please. What do you mean by like your father? Father or not father? You have two sons. You are calling me like your son. Finally, are you going to keep 1/3 for all three? Or half for them and call me like your son? If you are setting aside 1/3, be clear, I will stop my morning alarm. See, a final lectures morning 4:30, I have to get up 6 months in a year. Be clear, what do you mean by I am like your father? But only for that envelope. I don't want it. I never take it. I simply refuse. I said, no custom note. He is like, it is a custom, it's a tradition. Okay, I said, remove 11 rupees from this envelope and give me. Your custom is also fulfilled and I will not take anything from you. That's my style. I have not disappointed him also. And somewhere he is also happy, 11,000. Say better is 11 rupees. Bro, 11,000 minimum he puts. Marwadi is an extremely rich father-in-law. All this only goes. That's why I don't like going also. Everything happened when I was using your property. Your property was really lucky, I must have. Have I paid all the rent of your property in the past itself? There was no outstanding, unpaid, unrealized bad debt. Now today, out of love and affection, not for you, for the property. Today, out of love and affection for your property which I used, I want to pay you some extra rent of those past years. Contractually, have I paid everything? Arrears is basically recalculation, reworking, retrospective increment in rent out of love and affection. That is called arrears. If there is any unrealized rent and I am paying you, that is recovery of unrealized rent. But if I have paid everything contractually, now I want to pay anything extra out of love and affection for the property. Why? Because that property was lucky for me. Of course, what will be your reaction? Nahi, tumhara tarakki dekh ke hum khush hai. Will you take that rent? Will you take that rent? That is for you, the receiver. Recovery of arrears. So bad debts, recovered is recovery of unrealized rent, and arrears basically simply means reworking of past rent, retrospective enhancement of your rent. Think about it from the receiver point of view. Whether the receiver is receiving unrealized rent or arrears of rent, are you receiving something? In accounts, when you have bad debts recovered, do you recognize it in profit and loss account? Bank account debit to bad debts recovered, do you record that? In your P&L account, do you? Yes, this will also be taxable in year of recovery. Whether you receive recovery of unrealized rent or you receive recovery of arrears of rent. Recovery of unrealized rent or arrears. Whether you receive any one of the two recoveries, the recovery will be taxable in the year of recovery. From this, we will give you a flat 30% standard deduction. So you may not get any other deduction like court fighting expense for unrealized rent, etc. Standard deduction will take care of everything. If you recover 1 lakh, you pay tax on 70,000. If you recover 2 lakh, you pay tax on 1,40,000. If you recover 10,000, pay tax on 7,000. 30% is assumed taking care of all your expenses for recovery. So whatever is your recovery, whether unrealized or arrears, whatever is your recovery, pay tax on 70%. This 70% is going to be taxable for you. Do you understand this? Wait, one last line. This is clear. Meaning of unrealized rent recovered, meaning of arrears recovered, standard deduction, no other deduction, everything is clear. Last line. Even if the receiver, the assessee, is not the owner. Wrong. Sir, you are contradicting what you taught us in the beginning of the chapter. You started the chapter by 3 conditions. Condition 1, building. Second condition, owner. Now you are saying not the owner. Sir, being owner is necessary for house property. Arey, wait, please, let me complete. Ruko jara. In the year of recovery, you are not the owner. Once upon a time, you were the owner. Is being owner necessary in house property? Yes, 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 yes. Is it an essential condition? Yes. Just that you are not the owner now. So understand. I occupied your property some years ago. Whether unrealized or arrears, I have vacated your property. Is the possession with you? You have sold your property now. And after you sell the property, I am giving you that recovery money. That means when you are getting the recovery, at that time you are not the owner. But then I am not giving you rent for today, no. I am giving you rent for a past period in which you were the owner. Is being owner mandatory? Yes. 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 Just that it is okay to not be the owner right now. If you were the owner at that time, it is okay to not be the owner right now. Understood? Is being owner necessary? Not right now. You could have been owner in the past also. Bro, everyone is clear? Alright. With this, believe me, house property ka chapter is over. One last concept is left. But the concept requires at least 20-25 minutes. I know you are absolutely free. You have got nothing to do. But I am not. So, sir, thank you for leaving us early. Whatever you call me behind my back, मैं हूँ वो. I am not leaving you, bro. I am not leaving you. One last concept is left. House property ka chapter is over. If I make announcement at the end when I am leaving you, I know your mind is somewhere else. So right now only I'll tell you, only one concept is left. Chapter is over, calculation is over, everything is over. Whatever question ka time I will get right now, I will do it. Remaining questions I will do tomorrow. If tomorrow when I am doing the questions and you don't know the theory of the chapter, the concept of the chapter, I am going to skip the questions. I am telling you in advance. I will do questions only and only and only if you have revised. Am I very clear on that? Some questions on house property, at least to the extent that we can do right now. What page number? House property chapter starting, that I am not asking though. Now see, every chapter will have two types of questions. First, you will have questions which are solved questions. Starting on page number 76. Solved questions, page number 76. Illustration question 76. And after the solved questions, you will have something called unsolved questions, which you observe in your book are starting on page number 80. Everyone is with me? Our target in class is always going to be the unsolved questions. Unsolved questions. So that we get the solutions also. Every time I finish the chapter, whether I announce or I don't announce, the solved questions will be compulsory your homework, because some questions you will have to do on your own, and I am giving you the questions with solutions. The unsolved ones I am doing. I will not leave a single unsolved question. Are you clear on this? But sometimes, if you are lucky, I may be doing some of the solved questions with you in class also. For example, today I am doing the first solved question, question number 44 on page number 76. Question number 44, page number 76. Please read the question.
Certain the GAD in the following cases for the assessment year 25-26.
So you have been given 7 people, PQRSTUD. Can you observe that? In all these cases, what is the data given to you? You have been given municipal valuation, fair rent, standard rent under Rent Control Act, actual rent, property ka vacant period, and vacancy. That means, can I say all the data is given to us? And they are asking GAV. See, if they ask NAV, they have to give municipal taxes. If they ask income from house property, then they have to give you interest also. Correct? Eh? Only GAV. GAV ka 7 steps. At least the big calculation that we have studied today, that will get revised in that question, in this question. But the other questions, of course, I will complete only after that last concept. Only 1/5 concept is left. If you don't revise and come, believe me, I am not solving any question. In fact, now your time has come. Now that house property is over, we'll be peacefully doing salary. But while we are doing salary, during that time, because it will take at least 4 or 5 lectures, maybe more. While we are doing salary, you should complete the additional question bank till house property. Okay? So how to ascertain GAV? First, tell me the steps. Step number 1, municipal valuation given. Amount bhi bolo. How much? 30,000. Second, fair rent given 32,500. Third, expected rent, whichever is. So do you understand? I put a tick against 32,500. Next, standard rent given, that is 29,750. Next step, ALB or RLB 32,500 or 29,750, whichever is lower. That means, see what I am doing. This 32,500 will get cancelled. Now I'll go ahead with this figure. Now this will be compared with my actual rent. Matlab, listen, 5 is 29,750. 6 is 33. Of course, this also I can't compare. I will add vacancy period rent and compare. So actually comparison will happen between 36 and 29,750 because vacancy rent has to be added. So after adding vacancy rent, my step number 7 ka answer is 36. So compare 36 and 29,750. Please pay attention. If 29,750 was higher, so that will become answer. But as 36 is higher, 36 will not be the answer. 33 will become my final answer. Understood? At least couple of them I'll still do with you because I want a situation where from STUV you should be able to do on your own. Okay? So Q. Step number 1, this time you do it like this. Step number 1, 30,500 given. Correct? Hai? Step number 2, 33,000 given. Step number 3, whichever is higher. So our answer is 33. Step number 4, standard rent 29,500 given. Step number 5, whichever is lower. So what do we do? Cancel 33, bring 29,500. Step number 6, 24,938. That is actual. Normally our answer is ALB or actual, whichever is higher. But can we compare 24,938 with 29,500? No, because there is vacancy. We will have to add rent of vacancy period. Oh bro, wait. This is the total vacancy rent. I have seen some people make a mistake. For purposely for confusion, ICAI has done what? In the question they have given you months. So what a lot of students do is they multiply vacancy rent with the months. They say vacancy rent is 3562 into 1.5. No sir. They have not said vacancy rent per month. This is the vacancy rent. So this data is given only for entertainment. 1 minute. Not your entertainment. The entertainment which paper checker gets in deduction of your marks. Vichitra entertainment that he gets. Wow, mistake. Not relevant. You just have to add what? 24,938 and 3562. So listen, 5 is 29,500. 6 is 24,938. Add vacancy period rent of 3562. Compare these two. 28,500. So what is higher? And that only will become your answer. Understood? Next, 30,000. Now see how when you do the same thing again and again, your speed and method should change. Now your analysis should be 30 or 30 to 250. 30 to 250. Next, 30 to 250 or 31,500. 31,500. 31,500 cannot be compared with 21. It will be compared with 36. Is 36 higher? But 36 won't become the answer. Answer will become 21,000. understand, we have to after a point increase our speed also. Yes. Okay, next.
Mr. Rahul
ए ओ जाधव दिसला म्हणून गेला तो पुढे. STUV, who will do? He is reading the next question. You overexcited because your surname is also Jadhav, but you must be having H also. Same surname is spelling JADAV. So don't be excited. This is not Pratik Jadhav. S. Arey bro, 40 or 39? Come on. 40. Then 40 or 42 500? Still 40. That will be compared with 27? No. 36. 36. And is 36 still lower? Yes. Then 40 will become our answer. Are you understanding? Okay. Next. You do it. Hey, पागल लोग. SOP है, properties vacant full year. Overexcited souls. Sir, 40 or 39? 40. Then, just do the analysis front and back, no? If the property is vacant full year, that means I have not given it on rent even for one day. Then such a property will be classified under SOP. Okay. Property U. 70 or 75? 75. 75 or 60? 60. 60 will be compared with 48. What is higher? 60. 60 is higher. 60 will become the answer. Correct hai? Last. 70 or 75? 75. 75 or 60? 60. 60 will be compared with 72. 72 is higher, so 12,000 will become the answer. Everyone understood? 100%? हाँ, तो ladies and gentlemen, as told, please make sure that you revise every word of the chapter, and yes, in 1 hour or so we will be able to complete the concept and the questions, maybe little more than that, but we are going to get good time in tomorrow's lecture to actually also start our next head of income. So I will see you guys in tomorrow's lecture.